So, some of you may be coming here from Deleted Scenes Unscripted show, and something was described on that show, which I can't go into details here, but it did get me thinking about something. It might explain why Kylo Ren was so screwed up in the sequel trilogy. He is not, in fact, Han Solo's son. He is Jabba the Hutt's son.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right.
There you go, Disney. Can you clear this up for us, Lucasfilm? What did or did not happen?
Oh, gosh.
I already know what Pablo Hidalgo's answer will be. Anyway, welcome everybody to Geeky Geezers. I'm your host, Agent Boomer. My co-host, Pacelli. Go ahead.
Hello.
Give
yeah,
us your
I was even
saying, on that, man.
I even said during that stream, I'm like, that's not what happened, and anyone who says that it did that says more about them than it does about Star Wars. Just saying.
There was a
episode into this fanfic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Well, it reminds me of an episode of Millennium, one of the comedic episodes with Jose Chung, the Charles Nelson Riley writer character who was also on the X-Files. Frank Black is trying to analyze the case, and one of the cops there is saying, no, it was a woman who's punishing all the men by dressing up all like S&M like, and then she tortures them to death to make them pay for being the lascivious dogs they are, something like that. And then Frank Black was like, that profile says more about the profiler than it does the actual case, or something.
Yeah, exactly.
It was like his weird fantasy. Anyway, so here we are. Lots to discuss tonight. Lots of news. I tell you, it's either droughts or floods here at Geeky Geezers. But I want to say hello to the chat. I believe JPRPH1 was the first one. Howdy, folks. Logo, Fedora, Canarable, Mumbler. Okay, yes, basically, yes. That's like the recipe. That's definitely
that's
the
exactly that. Yeah, that is the last call recipe. That's what we'll call it.
Maybe I should start having brown mumblers during Geeky Geezers. It might make the show more fun.
It might help.
It might help. Why? How did we get here? It's fine. Everything's fine. We got some good news tonight. Like the fact that you can buy game keys instead of cartridges for your new consoles. I'm saying,
well,
I'm
actually,
sorry,
you have to buy both.
We'll get into it. I'm not happy about that. I'm like, it's everything.
I wouldn't imagine you would be.
It's like, okay. Hello, my friends. Have a great show. Thank you, Big Al. Welcome, Connie Cleary. Always good to see you, Connie. Let's see who else is here. Netters Network. Thank you for the hi, sweetie. Appreciate it. Chris P, welcome. Again, I have to get with you at some point. We got to do our Contra stream. I know it's been on the back burner for about 2 years now, but
that reminds me. I did promise Big Al last night that I would mention to you. He's looking to get in touch with you about Robin Sherwood.
I'll get with him. It's finals week this week, so I'm busy with that.
Gotcha.
I did take some time off for it though, so that's good. Because I'm like, no, I'm not going to stress myself out by working and doing finals in 1 week. I'm just going to take some time off. And then a week from this Saturday, May 10th, I get to go to a Billy Idol concert.
Nice.
Very excited. Billy Idol and Joan Jett and Blackhearts. What, come on.
Yeah.
Because I realized something. You only live once, right? And I got to get out of the house. All right. So, Lady Mist, welcome. Connie Cleary, welcome. I think I already said that. I can say it again. Lady Miss, thank you for the flowers. Deleted Scenes, welcome. Deleted Scenes, I know he was pointing out that he doesn't feel the same about Star Wars, but I also would argue you can't really watch the original Star Wars because all we have are those altered editions now, unless you want to find other means around that.
In fact, it's funny you say that because I was literally just watching Dan Monroe on Movies, Music, and Monsters. He was talking about the original Star Wars, and he even said, no redos, no reboots, no special editions, and no A New Hope. And as he's through talking about it and whatnot, he said, unfortunately, it's not really possible to watch now if you're a fan, unless, I don't know, maybe there's some way, and then he does the point down to the center of the screen where he, with a title for you to Google, if you want to surf those high seas.
Well,
But yeah, there are fans out there who have done the restorations themselves.
yes.
The high definition, 4K restoration of the original Star Wars. It is possible to view and make your own physical media of, even if Lucasfilm never releases it.
When does Star Wars go public domain? 100 years from now? I'm just saying, we'll get that that unspecialized edition then.
Well, no. I think we're getting closer to 50 years because
that's good.
God, how long has it been? 77?
I don't know. All I know is Popeye's not public domain. Oh man, can you imagine a 3/0 the movie or something, right? It'd be like a 3PO slasher movie. You know it's gonna happen.
I actually want I want when Superman, the original Superman and the original Popeye are in public domain, I want more team up stories of those two. I really do.
Superman and Popeye, I'd watch it.
There were some in the past, and I want there to be new ones. Yeah.
Thanks for painting that image, Boomer. Hey, it was brought up on Deleted Scenes channel, all right? I'm just saying it would make things in the sequel trilogy make sense if that was the case. I'm just, I'm coming up with my own canon. You just reminded me my fan rewrites for Star Wars episodes 2, 8, and 9. Okay. Or is that 7, 8, and 9? I probably missed that. Okay. Joshua V, welcome. Am I at the bottom yet? D Pensec. Race to the and Matanui. Okay, don't get too excited. You still have to worry about trademark stuff like lightsabers, Jedi, etc.
Well, actually, that one's already been fought. The lightsabers are not trademarkable because the concept of a laser sword can't be trademarked.
You can't call it a lightsaber.
You just can't call it a lightsaber. That's true.
So if I call it a beam saber, then Bandai will sue me because that's Gundam. Anyway.
No, you call it a light sword or a laser sword. Yeah.
Gundams have plasma swords too. I'm just saying. Because it was the 70s. Anyway, let's get to the presentation, huh? Shall we? You want to bring that up?
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember it this week?
I control the horizontal and the vertical and all of that.
Here we go. So tonight we're going to start off like we usually do with
the good old days. Tell us about the good old days, Uncle Aged Boomer.
Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. I have to give credit to any movie series that keeps the numbering system past 6. That's impressive. Are there any movie series that have done this besides Friday the 13th? I know they stop with 8. They stop with the numbers at 8. But
well, here's the other thing. Because just like with Friday the 13th, other series have gone farther than their numbering system went. They may have stopped numbering it and just called it something different. For example, Hellraiser, which I know most of those movies were Hellraiser in name only. They just stuck the Hell Priest into other horror films just to keep the franchise going.
Do you remember the virtual reality game one?
Was that the one that was Deader or something like that?
I think was Lance Henriksen in it?
Hellworld.
I mean, Hellworld, yes.
Yeah.
It's like World of Warcraft, but with Hellraiser. It's just not, no.
It was, yeah. And you look at it and you realize, gosh, they didn't need to make this Hellraiser. It could have been something else. Well, it was something else.
Yes,
they
basically
turned
it was.
Into Hellraiser. So Hellraiser's got more than 7 or 8 parts. I know that there's others as well, but yeah, they were going for it. This may be apocryphal. Apocryphal. Excuse me. I may be wrong with this, but I remember hearing somewhere that their goal was to get to Friday the 13th, Part 13.
That would have been cool, but that didn't happen. So
true.
Y'all, you know what they need to do when they reboot or bring Jason back? Just do Part 9. Just ignore those other ones like Jason Goes to Space, which was stupid. Just go straight to Part 9.
And the problem with Jason Goes to Space, it's kind of like Hellraiser. What was it? Hellraiser.
Yeah.
What was the one? There was one that was. It took place in 3 different
It
time
was the
periods.
4th one. I actually rather like that one. The
I
concept
did
is
too.
brilliant.
The
Yes.
problem is, and it's great because it kind of spans, the origin of the
The
lament
origin, and
configuration
also
to the
like the guy
end of the
he keeps having descendants that try to stop the Cenobites, right?
exactly,
And it's
and
fascinating in that way. Yeah.
the final chapter takes place in the future in space, and it required lasers because whereas the lament configuration was all infinite darkness, using lasers you could create infinite light.
But you could
Same
still
same thing.
set Hellraiser movies before that future.
That's what you
You
have
know,
to
so
assume.
yes.
You have to assume that every other story takes place between this one and this one.
I was actually fine. That was an interesting concept for a horror movie. I know
I
it didn't
agree.
quite gel, but it was. I think the director got angry about something like they took.
Well, the biggest problem with it was that by trying to squeeze 3 different stories into one, none of them were really done their due. It
It
would
would
have
have
been
made more
way
sense as a
better.
new trilogy. As a new trilogy.
Yeah, they could have done it as
Yeah, yeah,
a whole new
yeah,
trilogy, and it would have been so much better.
yeah.
There is actually a fan edit of that restores some scenes that were cut out of it and stuff. Reconstructs some scenes actually from work prints. I've got it. It's not great, but I see what they were going for.
Okay. Deep Pensek looks like they're 8 Leprechaun movies. Yes, that's fine. But do they keep the numbering with each one? Because I think Leprechaun in the Hood, they don't have a numbering at that point. They're just,
Good point.
they
Yeah,
just get rid of the numbering.
yeah.
I'm saying that Friday 13th had the good sense, or maybe the not good sense, to keep numberings. The only other series I think of is Star Trek. Because I wonder if Last Action Hero destroyed that with the
Well,
Jack
no,
Slater.
because even Star Trek after Star Trek 6, they dropped the
They
numbers.
stopped it, and I think it was Last Action Hero. I think everybody got embarrassed of the numbering after Last Action Hero because that was one of the jokes about it being what was
Yeah,
it, Jack Slater or whatever the guy's name was, Part 7 or something. They just
yeah,
kept adding numbers onto them. Okay, but here we go. Friday the 13th, New Blood. Oddly enough, you and I and Netter, so feel free to chime in on this, Netter, if you'd like.
yeah.
Okay.
We have this is fresh in our heads because apparently we independently watched this on our own because
Hmm.
unfortunately it does tie into an in remembrance tonight. But
Right.
this time someone's waiting. So the trailer for this is actually pretty cool. I'm thinking this is Friday the 13th meets Scanners. Remember Scanners?
That's exactly what
Yes.
I was thinking as I was rewatching it. I'm like, so okay, not to step too much on where you're going with this, but you're introduced to a character who has psychokinetic powers.
Yeah, she's a
Your your
psionic
last
killer.
girl, or your star of the movie, or
Yes.
your final girl, or whatever you want to call her, is struggling with these psychokinetic powers. I don't feel like a huge leap in a horror fantasy film, right? I mean, this is, some kind of a dark supernatural world where you can have a revenant that keeps coming back from the dead to kill people. Okay, so you have someone who has psychokinetic powers. She's struggling with these powers and how to control them. And I'm sitting here watching it going, don't you just wish you were the boyfriend and you could say, hey, I can help you with this. Have you ever seen the movie Scanners?
Yes, right. Delician says Jason versus Carrie. I believe that's probably how it was
It
pitched.
kind of it kind
Yeah.
of was, because there is a scene where in trying to practice her abilities or whatnot, she's trying to move a
Yes.
matchbook, and she does a little bit and she loses her temper and suddenly it bursts into flames.
Yep.
So
Or a Firestarter, that's another one, yeah.
yeah.
So we left off with Friday 13th Part 6, with Jason getting submerged to the bottom of the lake. I have to give points to the people who make these movies. They always recap them for you because I keep forgetting
Yeah.
this is. I mean, at this point, people must have VCRs, but I think in the early days of Friday the 13th, they would do recaps because they figured people might be
Right.
going into this fresh, or maybe they watched the movie 3 years ago and they don't remember. So let's kind of get them up
Yeah,
to speed.
so we've talked about this before, the fact that not everyone had access to physical media back then. The only times you could see these movies were when they were released and sometimes re-released in the cinema, or if they were on cable, which when you start getting into 6, 7, 8 films, becomes kind of unwieldy. Even if like HBO was running a marathon of Jason films, the idea of being able to get caught up, and then that might put a lot of fans off. Oh, they're on the 7th movie. I got to go back and watch all 6 movies. No.
Well, see, this is where it goes for me. Troy had this on yesterday, and so we started watching it. And my thing was, how do you get in the chains? Because I haven't seen all the movies. I think I've seen maybe one other one, possibly 2.
Yep.
Yes. In fairness, Netter started watching it with me after it had already started, so she missed the...
Because they do a recap in the beginning. They show, I guess, adult Tommy wrapping the chains around Jason. He kind of tricks Jason, I think, into doing like this fake thing, like, I'm going to try to set you on fire, Jason. But that's not the real trap. The real trap is him trying to tie a chain around him against I guess, like a stone brick or whatever that would be able to weigh him down.
Block or something.
And then Jason, in attacking Tommy, just destroys the boat. And by doing that, he sinks himself into the bottom of the lake.
Ah,
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, exactly.
And that was actually a pretty smart trap. But
so I did send you an article if you want to reference that. I did remember because like he said, I was rewatching this and refreshing my memory, and I realized that I'm like, wait, this sounds familiar to me. So actually in Minnesota,
yes,
there is a man-made lake. It's actually a flooded quarry where somebody created a statue of Jason exactly like this and sunk it to the bottom of the lake. And it's down there. It really is. And if you want to go diving, you can go down and find it. It's what is the name of it? It is Minnesota. It's got.
Is it Jason Voorhees is still chained underwater? The bottom of the Crosby Mine Pit. Oh, that's something else.
Crosby Mine Pit. Yeah, that's what
Crosby, Minnesota. That's right. Crosby, Minnesota.
It was put down there in 2013, and what the key is, I wanted to see if it was still down there. And as of May 20th, 2024, yeah, it's still down there. And I don't think anyone really has the wherewithal or gumption to bother going and removing it. So
no, just leave it there.
Jason is still at the bottom of that lake in the real world.
You have to be a trained scuba diver to actually go see him, I think, right? Because it's not just something you can get to easily, right?
Yeah, I mean it's not super deep. Actually, here's the interesting thing. It's not a super deep lake, but if you look at the pictures of him underwater, it is much darker than what you see right here in your slide, which is supposed to be at the bottom of a much deeper lake at night.
That's impressive.
So, yeah.
Geek Flag, I grew up in Brandywine, Maryland, and the theater would re-release the previous Friday the 13th before they show the new one. Now, that's interesting. Huh?
That is... Yeah, that's kind of brilliant. I know some theaters did that here, and that was especially true with, and it wasn't necessarily even the local theaters. I know that Star Wars did that. They had a re-release of Star Wars before Empire Strikes Back was released.
So here we go.
Of course, that was your first special edition. That's when they added A New Hope.
Here we go. Jason's back. Okay, so plot of the movie is you have this little girl, doesn't like the fact that her father is slapping her mother around. So then she makes the I guess the dock collapse on him, and he falls into the water and drowns with it. And she's like, "Oh no, I didn't mean to kill him," And it's now she has all this trauma from this. Now she's a young adult, a teenager, probably 17 or 18, and she's getting therapy from this one guy that wants her, I guess, to exploit her powers for his. I don't know, for the shop or something.
Well, and what's really crappy about it is in the very typical 80s trope, it's a psychologist, right, that they're trying to get to help her with her trauma, but he's using very unethical means to actually make her trauma worse because he's trying to study her psychokinetic powers, not help her with her trauma.
And I think she tries to bring her dad up from the lake, or she's doing something like trying to search for
So
that. I think she
here's
sees that
how
there's a body there and then brings it up, and it's not
yeah.
her dad. It's Jason.
Yeah, this is how I read this. She's out on the lake just like she was when she was a little girl.
Yes.
And it's like she gets this psychic impression of a body at the bottom of the lake, and she thinks it's her father, and
Yep.
she starts to raise him up, sees that it's Jason. I mean, we see, they do it in the whole dramatic fashion with the bunch of bubbles and the chain breaks, and he gets out, and she screams when she goes back, tell her mother and the doctor. And that's the other thing. This psychologist is staying with her and her mother at this lake house at
Yes.
Crystal Lake. And it's
Yes.
like, this is very weird and inappropriate. Why is this doctor staying with them in this isolated location? It's like,
because he doesn't want
honestly,
people in the hospital bugging in on him about what he's doing.
I honestly felt like he was a bigger villain in this movie than Jason was.
Kind of, yes. So she brings Jason back, and Jason does what Jason does. He goes around finding teenagers to kill, right?
Right.
I mean, Jason, I don't.
And the whole joke is, it always is in these slasher films, right? Oh, she showed her boobs, she's got to die. Oh, he saw her boobs, he's got to die, right? And
yeah,
at
I
one
felt
point,
bad for the one chick because anyway, go ahead.
Well, at one point, Netter was like, "Oh, she's about to die." No, wait a minute, that just seems too obvious. I don't think she's going to die just yet. It's going to be a fake out. Jason kills her, and she's like, "Okay, well, I guess we're going with the obvious on this
one." There's no depth to Jason. It's just what he does. This is why you don't make a movie from the point of view of Jason, which somebody did. I'm like, I went on a rant about that.
I do have to say, this was also the film in the franchise that had my favorite Jason murder scene, and that was the girl in the sleeping bag.
Yeah, I have a picture of that. Hold on, let's get to that.
In fact, Netter says, "Oh, is the girl in the sleeping bag going to die?" I said, "Yeah, she's not even going to leave the sleeping bag."
Look at this. So she hides in the sleeping bag because I guess she doesn't have a choice because she can't really run because she's stuck in there.
Right.
So she cowers in. So he just kind of drags the sleeping bag out, and then boom,
just wham right.
And then as he's throwing it around, it's like puny god.
Yeah, puny god. that's what we thought.
She's like, "Come on, you big hunk of meat! I'm right here," or something like. And then
you're gonna be a big hunk of meat in just a second, girl.
It's just so bad. It's just, here we go. I forget who this is. This is someone else he's killing. He just kills people. It's what he does. There's no rhyme or reason.
So this was okay. This was again. You got to keep in mind the era that this was. They were going for diversity, but they also didn't want there to be mixed couples. So one of the couples was a black couple.
Right.
So they were friends with everybody, but they were very clearly together. And
yes, boyfriend, girlfriend.
So you get the whole she's in. They were going to make out in the. That was a weird one too. I mean. They made the sex weird in this one because they're in the back of the van making out, right? And then there's a thump on the outside, right? And we all know it's Jason because we saw Jason coming. They think it's their friends. So he says, "I got an idea. Let's shock him or surprise him or whatever. 1, 2, 3." And they throw open the back and there's no one there. And of course she's covering herself and he's, naked from the, he's topless.
Yes.
He's like, "I'm going out there. I'm gonna get these guys." He's like, "Come on with me." She's like, "I'm not going out there." Obviously, she's got herself covered. I'm like, "Why'd you even open the door? That's weird."
I don't know.
She gets out, and Netter's like, she's like, "Oh my gosh, she got dressed fast." I'm like, "Yeah." It makes zero sense.
Does she get stabbed with a party favor like one of those?
Yes. So one of the things they were going to do is they had the whole idea that all these kids were out there was to celebrate one of their friends' birthdays, and they had these like party favors. So I think this was a missed opportunity because at one point this guy you have on screen right now has the party favor and he's looking for these guys and he's going, "Woo, woo." It was one of those, type of things.
Scare you, yeah.
And Jason comes and crushes his head, right? Then Jason picks up the party favor and uses it to stab the girl in the eye. So later on, she's found with sticking out of her eye.
It's just so bad. I'm sorry. I'm not going to say it's a bad movie. I'm just saying I feel like I've watched 8 Friday the 13th movies, and you can get what you get out of Friday the 13th by watching The Burning, or
See,
Sleepaway
this is
Camp.
exactly what I'm talking about with remakes. Why would you bother to remake a classic kill?
Yeah.
It's so pointless. It's been done. Why do I need you?
Because the kids hadn't seen the old movies.
Yeah, but it's available to them. It's just go watch it. It's so much better.
Let's see here though. Okay, other people get killed. You have a science fiction writer, I remember, right? He keeps talking about Space Mummy, and I'm thinking, yeah,
he looked a little bit like a young Ashton Kutcher, to be honest with you. But yeah,
you're a loser, dude. Stop talking about your bad ideas to everybody.
Well, but at the same time,
I know it's what guys do in high school.
Yeah, and here's the thing: he wasn't your typical nerd. He was a good-looking guy, right? Yes. So when the mean girl blonde, Melissa,
that's a good way of describing her. I keep thinking I've seen her elsewhere. Like I know I've seen
Susan Jennifer Sullivan. I don't know what else she's been in. I couldn't tell.
Maybe she looks like another actress, because I swear it was like, where have I seen her before? It's like, okay, but yeah, she like pretends to make out with him to get
because she's jealous. Literally trying to make the other guy jealous, and it's like we all see this, and she doesn't just I mean, it's like they're in the middle of making out, and she's like, okay. Stop. It's not doing it for me. I don't like you anyway. I'm just doing it to make so-and-so jealous. And it's like, you're like the bitchiest of bitches. I mean, it's like, I am not only using you to make someone else jealous, but I am going to destroy you by telling you about it and making you feel like crap about it as much as I possibly can.
I've been rejected by the finest science fiction magazines in the country. I'm going to go take a shower.
Which sounds like some major cope, right? But at the same time, if you think about it from the point of view of a guy who's been rejected and who's a little nerdy, you think, yeah, putting yourself out there to get published and being rejected, when you've been through that enough times, a bitch like this is not worth getting upset about. No. It's just.
And then he's going to go shower, I guess, to take a cold shower.
Cold shower, yeah, exactly.
And then I think Jason still murders him. Oh no, you know what he is? He's opening up the presents for the guy that never showed up to his birthday party because Jason murdered him, and they're all waiting around for him. And he opens up one of the presents and says, a custom-made penis enlarger. I think.
Yes, and he opens it up, and it's a magnifying glass.
So bad. And I was thinking Austin Powers was playing in the back of my head. This sort of thing, that's not mine.
That's not my bag, baby.
Oh, that was so funny. I love Austin. We're gonna have to do a good old days on Austin Powers.
I think so, absolutely.
All right, but okay. So this movie seems like it's going on forever, and I'm like, where's the fight gonna happen? Because I'm waiting for the hey Jason.
Well, here you go.
Met your match.
So here's the thing about her. She's literally got all the potential, right? She doesn't just have psychokinesis and pyrokinesis, and what's the ability to see remote viewing, because she knows that Jason's at the bottom of the lake and everything. But she's got precognition,
like she can see people about to be murdered.
When she meets these kids, she assumes them to be hallucinations. I guess you'd still consider them hallucinations, where she pictures the way they're going to die. And later on, when she's just getting really upset and running away again, she's in the car, going down the dirt road or whatever, and she sees like her mom in the road being stabbed by Jason through the back.
Yeah.
Another precognition, which ends up coming true. And so she comes back because she's like, I gotta help my mom. She, spoiler, she doesn't make it in time to save her mom, but her mom goes on to be a voice actress in many, many, many cartoons that you've seen.
Well, there we go. She was Scott Baio's girlfriend in Charles in Charge. Oh, which actress? The lead one here? Or
Susan Jennifer Sullivan. That's right. Okay. I remember her now.
I like Charles in Charge. I used to watch that.
I did too. Yeah.
Yes. So here she is.
This is her after she's realized at this point her mom's dead, and I'm going to say she's pissed, but she's also devastated. I feel like she's at the point where she just doesn't care anymore. She thinks she has nothing to lose.
So she's going to unleash her psionic powers on
Oh,
Jason
yeah.
Voorhees. And
it gets impressive because up to this point, at first she didn't even know how to tap into it. And then she realized, okay, if I get angry and, upset, strong emotions, I'm able to tap into it. And over the course of the movie, she starts to, decide what she's going to do and then does it, which is great and impressive, except it's like, girl, you got to use your imagination a little bit better. You could be doing way more things here.
Well, at first it's just defensive stuff, like she throws a couch at him with her mind.
Yeah.
It gets more
interesting.
It
was pretty impressive. I mean,
she starts doing stuff with electricity. She ends up like squeezing his face,
wrapping a cord around him to pull him to the yeah.
He's seen better days, man.
Yeah,
that's
she literally Jason. At this point she's broken his mask, and that kind of freaks.
Was she trying to like explode his brains in one scene? But then
that's what happened, and what she ended up doing was breaking the mask. Yeah,
but he doesn't really use his brains, so it doesn't matter.
He's a revenant, yeah. And that's why later on her boyfriend's trying to shoot him, and he's not going.
What's that going to do?
Yeah, nothing.
One of the funniest scenes on the show Angel was when Wesley, like, they're fighting this one demon character, and like Wesley just starts shooting at him with his gun, and like the demon turns, oh yeah, like that's gonna work or something. Like,
yeah, exactly, exactly right.
It was funny. I burst out laughing at that scene. Like, he was. Here we go. This is where she uses the lamp and raises him up, and then bursts open the floor, and then sends him tumbling down. That was a good idea. I was impressed with that.
Yeah, and again, you're looking at that. You got to try to see it from her point of view. She's like, okay, well, now he's almost certainly dead, right? And we're all going, no. But you did throw him down into the basement. That at least gives you time to get away. There's no quick way for him to get out and get after you. So
I think she gets back to her house.
She doesn't. She goes to help her boyfriend, who you can't see. He's just below camera,
the stupid leading man of the movie, the love interest,
who's actually the only nice guy. Well, no, I take that back. Most of the guys in this were pretty decent, except for the stoner guy that the two girls were fighting over.
Remember the stone? He's like, "Oh, me caveman, me need sustenance or something." Remember he said that? Exactly. I'm like, "You're gonna die." I think he got his head ripped off.
Well, after he does a bunch of drugs and he says, "Okay, the Columbia Express is heading out," or something, like, oh, geez. And these girls are salivating after him. I'm like, look, if you guys were potheads too, I could understand that being attractive to you, but this guy is just a burnout slob.
Look, man.
Whatever.
It was the 80s still, man. I think this is still the 80s when this came out. The 80s were an odd time because you didn't have the internet, so the kids had to teach each other things. So if your peers said the pothead is cool, you might believe it, right? Because you don't.
I mean, okay, you make a good point there, because there is that element of, yeah, it's like he's, she likes him, so I better work on getting him, right? Exactly.
But I think you're right, though. He ends up at the bottom of the lake in this movie because I believe the psychic ghost or the dead body of her dad or something comes out and grabs Jason and pulls him back down to the lake again.
In the what am I going to call it? In the standard trope of Friday the 13th with ambiguous endings. I'm referring back to, the original ending from the first movie. Girl is out in the lake. Young Jason, jumps out of the lake and pulls her in, and they immediately show you that it was a dream.
Yes,
it was. It wasn't real. No, I'm sorry. They don't show you that at the end of the first movie. At the end of the first movie, you don't know. You think Jason's alive and killed her. They start the next movie where it was just a dream, and it seems weird and disjointed. Same kind of thing happens here. She has this what she sees she's out on the boat, just like she was when she was a
Yes.
little girl. Jason is coming after her, and all of a sudden her father comes up from the water, breaks through the pier, and pulls Jason down. So basically he ends up the same place that he was in the beginning. And so yes, Jason is, but you can't possibly believe her father's still alive, and he was in too good a shape for him to have been a corpse that she raised. So you have to believe. I've always, in my head canon, assumed she did something to kill Jason the way she killed her father, basically. She's the one who sent him to the bottom, and in her mind, it's her father's spirit helping her. Yeah.
Okay. I noticed at the end when the police and the firefighters they're uncovering all the stuff at the scene, and one of them finds the split open hockey mask. I really wanted one of them to say, "Oh no, not again."
I know that would have been. You don't have to even think too much about the whole history of how he would know. It's just oh no, not again. Yeah,
Jason again.
Either he's got a personal history with it, or he's heard all the legend. There could be any kind of number of fan theories about what he means by that, and that would have been awesome. Yeah.
So that was a Friday 13th Part 7. I imagine he has to get a new hockey mask in Part 8. I'm sure they explain that. There should be like a hockey like retreat or something somewhere near Crystal Lake, and he just kills one of the players. That's Jason Takes Manhattan. Jason Takes Manhattan is the next one.
Oh, okay.
That's where he goes to New York City. Does he stop in for a Papaya King hot dog and then just slam someone on the grill or something? I don't know.
I gotta admit that I never actually saw Jason Takes Manhattan.
I've seen it in pieces.
I don't think I've seen any of them since this one. I saw 7, and then I think I kind of bugged out after that.
The Jason in Space one's kind of dumb, but it's weird because it has Andromeda actors in it, which like Lexi Doe is in it, and the actress that played the one who could change her hair all the time, she was in it too. And Lexi Doe is like a modern scientist, and I think she's trying to stop Jason, get him into cryo freeze, and then I think he stabs her like a death kill as he's going into cryo freeze. So they both get frozen. So I think later on when they get uncovered, they're able to use like nanites to repair her wound that Jason gave to her. And the one guy says, "Hey, look, we found a human from the 20th century. I bet she's worth a lot of money or something. We could do a lot of." And like one guy he's talking, he's like, "No one cares. Like, I don't care if she's a renowned scientist. Nobody cares who she is from the 20th century." And they said, "Wait a minute, you have Jason Voorhees? Oh, he could be worth a lot of money. He's like a notorious serial killer from that era, you know." And he's bringing that up. It's kind of dumb, but it was
that one had my second favorite Jason kill in it, and that was the liquid nitrogen to the face, which I know it's scientifically debunked. It wouldn't work that way, but it was cool in the movie.
He destroys a whole space station in that movie. Like the station doesn't slow down. Station just kind of flies through the station in such a way that the entire space station gets destroyed and everyone on board. It's so bad. It's so bad. No, that was when they have nowhere else to go. They go to space. What?
I've got it on DVD. I really should watch it now.
When you have no place else to go, you go to space. That's when you know your franchise is in trouble. That when it goes to space.
Oh, like Fast and Furious?
They kept teasing that. They didn't quite go there, but they came close. Anyway, now we go on to the news. Unfortunately, our news story does tie into tonight.
I mean, she really was beautiful. I mean, and she literally, I mean, talk about you always talk about celebrities when they die. She was 63. She still looked good at 63. You know?
Yeah. Friday 13th, Part 7, the new Blood star Lar Park Lincoln passed away on April 22nd at the age of 63. It was with profound sadness that we announced the passing of Lar Park Lincoln. Actors Audition Studios, which Lincoln founded, shared on Facebook. Over her 45-year career, Lar Lar left an unforgettable mark on Hollywood throughout her dynamic performances and dedication to mentoring aspiring actors. Lincoln is best known for squaring off against Jason Voorhees as telekinetic final girl Tina Shepard in The New Blood. I'll say this. This was the first time he was going up against someone that could do him damage, I felt. In movies.
Yeah.
She reprised the role in the 2021 fan film Roseblood. She also appeared in House 2, The Second Story, 13 Fanboys, Sky Sharks, and an episode of Freddy's Nightmares. I like House 2, The Second Story. I know House fans don't like that movie as much, but I think it's fun still.
I did like it,
Yeah. Lincoln's TV credits include a recurring part on Knots Landing.
Yep.
Look at that. And guest starring spots on Beverly Hills 90210 and Murder, She Wrote. The Dallas-based entrepreneur published a book about a career in the entertainment industry, Get Started, Not Scammed, in 2008. That probably is still worth reading today, I would imagine.
Probably. Yeah.
Lincoln's family requests privacy during this time and is grateful for the outpouring of love. In lieu of flowers, donations may be made to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation or Entertainment Community Fund. Rest in peace. I'm sorry she passed away, but it looks like she had a... I feel like we kind of go after the unsung heroes of movies on this channel, and I think she was...
Because I feel a responsibility to do so. I feel like,
And I did want to thank Deleted Scenes also for bringing this to our attention.
Absolutely. This one was submitted by Deleted Scenes. Otherwise, it would have flown under the radar for us. She... her in her later career, she did a lot of coaching of new would-be stars on how to go on auditions and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and I think that just because someone doesn't become a huge star, that you remember their name, and they're in a whole series of whatever films that you love or whatever. These supporting characters or one-time stars of a franchise you loved, they entertained you too. And when you go, oh yeah, I remember them. Yeah. Take a moment and remember them,
Yeah. I need to rewatch House 2. I got to figure out who she played in that. That what was weird about House 2? It had another Cheers actor in it, like I forget.
The first one had
George
Richard
Wendt
in it.
No,
Oh,
and
George Wendt.
Richard Mole from Night Court, but then George Wendt was in it as the neighbor. And who's the actor that played the mailman? He shows up in the second one, so I thought it's odd. It's another Cheers tie-in in the House movies, but
that makes sense. So I did want to say that even though the family is requesting, if you want to do something, do it to SAG-AFTRA. I would say, if it was my family member, I'd have said dedicate something to fighting breast cancer, because
okay,
yeah, she fought it for 4 years.
Wow, that's rough.
It's incredibly terrible. Another
rest in peace. And you'll be missed, but like I said, people will still be watching a lot of her stuff. Knots Landing has gotten a new audience in recent years too. Did you know that? Like, it's on streaming now, so people are now watching Knots Landing again.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, but anyway, rest in peace.
So last week we were talking about a bunch of films that are getting a third sequel in their franchises. Gremlins 3, Beetlejuice, and 28 Days Later is getting a 28 Years Later. And now we got another one getting the threequel treatment after, 30 years or something like that?
It's been a time. The plot of Young Guns 3 plot details, timeline, and returning cast members submitted by Mark Malnikoff. The plot, casting, and timeline...
By the way, I should say that Mark Malnikoff has really become our major contributor and, on the street, what do you call it? Man on the street. We've got a whole bunch of articles submitted by him this week.
Yes.
And don't be afraid to shoot me a DM if you see a news article that you think we should be covering.
Yes. We already have 2 stories for next week's news.
Yeah, we do.
Too much to add tonight. We have too much, but they broke over the weekend anyway. The plot, casting, and timeline details for Young Guns 3 have been revealed by original star Emilio Estevez. Estevez was one of the core stars of Young Guns, which also starred Kiefer Sutherland, Lou Diamond Phillips, and Charlie Sheen. Most of the principal cast then reprised the roles in the sequel, Young Guns 2. In 1990 and 2021, Estevez confirmed that Young Guns 3 is in development, but there have been delays in getting the project off the ground. Recently, though, it seems the movie has begun to gain traction. I want to say the obvious thing in the room, but I'll wait till after I'm done reading the article. Okay. In an interview on Josh Horowitz's Happy, Sad, Confused, Estevez reveals that he has been going through a potential casting list for Young Guns 3, which he got the night before I arrived here. From there, he said, I'm going to start going through those and start putting together who I think are our candidates. He confirmed that Phillips and Christian Slater will both return, as neither of their characters died on camera. He also revealed that the death
That's
of
a very clever yeah. You know, we can do whatever we want. They didn't die on camera. You didn't see it happen.
Revealed that the death of his own character, Billy Kid, wasn't seen on camera, suggesting he would reprise his role. What did, like, the dynamite go off in the building and they just assumed that, I thought you were dead. And, okay. He lost, Billy the Kid loses his memory and is a preacher preaching against violence or something, right? Anyway, he becomes a parson or something. Okay, Lou returns, Christian Slater returns. We didn't see either of them die on camera. We certainly didn't see Billy the Kid die on camera. And if you want to continue the narrative of the Brushy Bill story, there's a potential for 3, 4, 5. Whether I'm in the next installment is, but I already have an idea for what that is, for what 4 is. On the topic of whether John Bon Jovi has been in contact about contributing to the film, as he wrote a song for Young Guns 2 and had a cameo, Estevez laughed and said, I am not allowed to say. He then added that the singer is very enthusiastic about being involved. Okay. Now, I'm going to say the most obvious thing in the room, and I'm going to have to say this. Can they still call it Young Guns?
Yeah, they're old guns.
I mean, come on. I mean, we call ourselves the geezers, and these guys I think are older than we are at this point.
Yeah, so. No, you're not wrong there. That's true.
So I'm going to try to explain what my opinion on Young Guns was at the time. It was a Western, but it was trying to star like all these Brat Pack style actors, the young hot guys that the girls always fawned over in the magazines. We're going to put them all in a Western movie. And I think there was a similar thing done with a gangster movie called Gangsters, where they got a lot of like Patrick Dempsey and a few other actors, and they had them be the young gangsters, trying to move up in the world of Al Capone and all that, But Chavez is shot in the stomach and is bleeding out. Hey, you know something? Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman stopped by and used some special technique to stop it. Oh, wait, that's another thing.
Exactly right. Yeah.
They should just have Jane Seymour show up when this is Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman. Just do it. Just do it. Come on.
Honestly, I think that, there are enough of those medical oddities. Somebody who survived a bullet wound that stayed in their body for 40 years and,
I don't know though. Stomach wound though. I heard you got hit in the gut. You were done back in the West. That's what I used to hear, at least.
Well, that's usually too, and it was usually pretty miserable because. You think about it. If you lose your kidney, if you lose your liver, you don't lose your liver.
They didn't have transplants back then. Okay,
they didn't. But you have
fly to you to state-of-the-art hospitals. That wasn't happening.
You have 2 kidneys, so you can survive on 1 kidney. If your liver gets hit, well, it can heal. But if you get even so much as a nick in your bowels, that's going to go septic, and you will die. And it will be very painful over the course of days. But if he didn't if it didn't pierce the colon, he could survive.
Rust guns. No, they can't do that. Did you get that, Rust guns?
Yeah.
They can't use the word Rust because that's associated with another Western
I
that has a bad
definitely would not.
reputation.
Yeah, I
They
definitely
could
would not.
call it, I don't know. Well, it could be about them bringing up the next generation of gunfighters, huh?
Well, and that would justify the use of the young
No.
guns.
So we get Andrew Garfield, who, wait, how old is Andrew Garfield now? Is he pushing 40? Never mind. So this is not working. Who are the young
well, young by
fellas?
comparison. Young by comparison.
Old guns. You know what? Darth Plato, old guns. I don't. That actually doesn't sound terrible.
It doesn't.
Call it old guns. Why
Yeah.
not? They don't like the word old, though. The old, I can already see the cigar chomping executive saying, "No one's gonna want to go see old guns." You know?
Well, and see, I do love that Estevez is speculating on future films. I think that's a great attitude to have. There's nothing that says this movie won't be successful. I mean, why not? People are kind of getting sick of the superheroes. Let's go with some westerns.
Yeah, geriatric guns. Hey, look,
Yeah,
I'll give it a shot. Pun intended. Anyway, because it's So,
No. Now's when the next movie, what would be the fourth movie, they break from the numbering system and they go Young Guns in the Old West.
How about Wild Guns?
Yeah.
You like that, huh? Instead of Wild West, Wild Guns. It's not going to work. I don't know how they title this thing. Okay. Gunslingers, yes.
Well, I don't see. I get the impression Young Guns 3 isn't the final title either. It's probably got something else.
Call it that, but the
Young Guns 3, Electric Boogaloo or something. I don't know. Just, it's got to be something.
Who are the young actors? Timothy Chalamet will show up.
Oh, gosh. Zendaya's got to be in here somewhere.
Oh, they got to have a girl. No. They'll have a girl.
Oh, and Pedro Pascal. He's going to play, like the governor of Mexico or something like that.
They should. Or he can play the villain. They're not going to have him play the villain. Well, they may. They're not as bad about that lately. They have actors going back and forth now. But Age of Boomer, that's almost like Wild Bunch. Yes, well.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. We're getting Young Guns 3, which may or may not be called Young Guns 3. They probably have to call it Young Guns 3 because that's the trademark, but I'm not picking on anyone's age. I like these actors, but it's just boomer guns. Yes. Okay. Moving on to speaking of, oh no. They can't have Paul Rudd.
we used to say until not too very long ago, we said Paul Rudd had that condition where he doesn't age.
Yes.
Well, it suddenly hit him all at once, it looks like.
I'm not sure. I'm not picking on the guy. I don't know what happened though. You're right. It looks like he aged like 10 years. Like Nintendo was gone.
Working with Disney will do that too.
I don't know what happened. I hope he didn't try taking some fat sucking drug or something. Like he was in good shape though, those Ant-Man pictures though. So I don't know. Okay, but here's the joke. Back in and this is probably what Nintendo was thinking, especially with them not aging too. Back in the 90s, there was a big Super Nintendo commercial that young Boomer had seen, salivating over the Super Nintendo after, unfortunately, he got his TurboGrafx 16, so he couldn't get a Super Nintendo right away. And then I didn't even realize at the time that this was Paul Rudd, but Paul Rudd shows up with, the trench coat and the, that 90s hair, and he's picking up the Super Nintendo controller, and you're seeing now you're playing with power, super power. Yeah. I'm like, oh wow, this is like Nintendo, but so much more. And that's what I was thinking at the time.
Yeah.
Because I wanted a 16-bit console after we got the NES, because I saw my cousin Andrew's Amiga, and I'm like, I want a 16-bit console. My brother had already picked up the Sega Genesis, so I'm like, can't get that. And I'm like, ooh, TurboGrafx 16. So I got that, and then suddenly Super Nintendo comes out because we didn't have the internet back then. By the time I started finding out about the Super Nintendo, I'd already gotten the TurboGrafx 16, so I was gonna have to wait. Of course, I guess my younger self, I should be thanking my younger self, as those TurboGrafx cartridges are very expensive now that I bought, but.
Darth Plato makes a great point. Is that Pauly Shore?
That's the thing. He does look kind of like Pauly Shore. Okay, let me read the article. It's a cute little
Yeah.
article. All right.
Yeah.
So let's get to it. Nintendo has gone all out for its first Western Switch 2 commercial, bringing back actor Paul Rudd to showcase the console's new game chat functionality. Wait, bringing back, you say? Yeah, for those of you who grew up in the Super Nintendo days, you might remember Paul Rudd starring in a similar 1991 commercial for Nintendo's successor to the NES. You remember the one, now you're playing with power, superpower.
Yeah.
The new
Yeah.
commercial references the SNES ad directly with Rudd's online friends, including Brooklyn Nine-Nine's Joe Lo Truglio, wondering why he's dressed up like he's in a boy band. It's a fun little throwback, and it ends with Rudd twisting the old SNES slogan to fit the new Switch 2. You know, guys, it's nice playing with power, but this is better because now we're playing together, super together. Okay, it's a bit corny, but you get it. We appreciate this little nod to the old days, though. It's clear how much Nintendo wants to target folks like, well, us. Yes, I do very much remember the good old days of the Super Nintendo, and I do miss the days of the Super Nintendo, but console generations were usually about 5 years back then. They tend to be longer now. All right. But that's it. Just a fun little thing. Any thoughts on that? I think you already said. Oh no! Now I'm fast. Now I'm snapped into the present. Why did you do this to me?
Oh, did I give you the wrong?
No, you
just
gave me the
put
right
wrong
thing,
one.
but now I'm thinking back to the nice old days of gaming, and now I see. Oh no! I see Sweet Baby Ink. No, this nightmare that should be gone at this point. I'm
I
over
did
it
put up
now,
the wrong one.
man.
Here we go. This is the
No,
one it's supposed to be. Oh
oh, is
no,
it?
that's right.
All
Explosive
right.
leak. Yeah.
Yeah, explosive leak. Yeah, there we go. Here we go. No, I was complaining about me seeing this after
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
reminded
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
pleasant memories from my childhood. Explosive leaked clip confirms Sweet Baby Inc. pressured developers to submit to narrative demands.
This one comes
Uh
from That Park Place. If you are
yeah.
not following That Park Place, you're missing. Well, where we get 90% of our information from, they are the cutting edge of geek news.
I'm going to be reading the whole thing because this is some good reporting.
Yeah,
I
it
think I
is.
think I got most of it at least. In a revelation that confirms years of speculation, a leaked clip from Sweet Baby Inc. An internal discussion has surfaced showing narrative designer Cameron Wild describing how a development studio was repeatedly pressured into changing the identity of its characters until it relented. Let me repeat that. This is a creative team trying to come up with come up with the game characters for the game, and they were pressured into changing them to suit the needs of Sweet Baby Inc., this consultant firm. The footage exposed by Master of the TDS and Writing Raven of Gothic Therapy provides the clearest evidence yet that Sweet Baby Inc.'s narrative consulting process involves far more than creative guidance for developers. It involves calculated emotional and ideological pressure. This latest development adds significant weight to growing concerns that Sweet Baby Inc. is not merely a consulting firm, but a gatekeeping mechanism steering game development toward rigid ideological outcomes, even against the will of the studios. In the leaked clip, Wild recounts an interaction with a developer that resisted suggestions about character identity. Rather than collaborating toward a creative solution, Wild describes pressing the studio repeatedly until it gave in, being met with a less than optimal response to that, and then having to say it again and then again and again. Wild noted in the clip, because your idea was bad. That's why they didn't want to use it. But anyway, that's my own commentary. The SBI narrative designer was also reflected on leveraging personal emotion to make the argument more compelling, admitting that vulnerability was deployed not for mutual understanding, but as a pressure tactic. The intent, according to Wild, was not to inform or advise, but to instill enough emotional weight to force compliance. This admission aligns with previously circulated clips of Sweet Baby Inc. CEO Kim Bellar encouraging teams to apply fear tactics to get narrative demands through. Go have a coffee with your marketing team and just terrify them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what they want, Belair said in a now infamous clip. If I can't sell them on, hey, don't do that, I can instill fear by suggesting that once it gets past us, someone else will take them down for this. Belair bragged in a separate event. So I guess this is, even if the marketing team says no, doing this to the character is a bad idea, Sweet Baby Inc. will then tell the press to go after them. That's my impression of that. These statements were once waved off as tongue-in-cheek. I didn't wave them off as tongue-in-cheek, but now paired with Wilde's blunt confessional, they appeared far more deliberate, a method, not a joke, something Gothic therapy described as narrative domination. While Belair's earlier quotes were often dismissed as flippant or out of context, this leaked moment with Wilde seems to expose the score strategy behind how Sweet Baby Inc. operates with developers. The exchange wasn't taken out of context, nor was it hyperbole. It was a deliberate reflection on how a successful campaign to wear development team down so that Wilde and SPI could get what they wanted. Gothic Therapy points out the language used in the clip shows no remorse or reflection about the pressure applied. Instead, Wilde expresses frustration that emotional vulnerability was even necessary to reach the outcome. I wish I had been a little less vulnerable, Wilde said in the clip. According to Gothic Therapy, the message is clear. Sweet Baby Inc. is less concerned with collaborative creativity and more invested in ensuring studios adopt approved identity frameworks, whether they want to or not. Let me keep reading. Okay. Wilde's philosophy is not hidden. In a public presentation at the Game Developers of Color Expo, the SBI narrative designer included a slide opening stating goal of burning the games industry to the ground. During that talk, Wilde emphasized that game stories must center identity, that discomfort is necessary for effective storytelling, and that traditional creators, particularly white developers, should relinquish creative authority over narratives involving black characters. Unless you're willing to step out of the limelight as a white person, you aren't equipped to tell a story about a black experience, Wilde said. Wilde has also criticized creators like Quentin Tarantino, stating Django Unchained should not have existed, and praised Blazing Saddles for offending the quote-unquote right people. The ideology laid out in that talk matches the behavior now confirmed in the leaked footage. Narrative control is the goal, and discomfort is a tool to achieve it. Belair, too, has left a trail of quotes that reflect an activist approach to narrative consulting. In past speeches and appearance, Belair has compared white male gamers to picky babies, claimed that Sweet Baby Inc. wants to quote-unquote take over the video game industry, laughed off the idea of neutrality in storytelling, emphasizing the need to disrupt traditional frameworks. When taken together, these statements show that Sweet Baby Inc. operates less like a creative partner and more like an ideological enforcement agency embedded within major studios. With these revelations, the industry must grapple with the reality that Sweet Baby
Wait. Hold up there. Revelations? We have known this all along. This is not a revelation to those of us that were paying attention.
I would argue, though, this latest thing is a revelation, what this guy said about pressuring. This is something I've always suspected. Now it's just bringing it more home to roost. Like how, no, here's what's different about this revelation this week. I'll say this is the fact that the developer was actually trying to push back.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't relent until the developer finally acquiesced. Now, part of me wants to say, why didn't the developer just say no? But I don't know what kind of pressure they were under. And maybe they did put up a fight. I just don't know.
These things do not exist in a vacuum. This has been, and call me a conspiracy theorist if you want, but the conspiracy is been laid bare by, what we're seeing coming out of Doge and everything else. This whole DEI push has been a freaking globalist mandate. And it's why it's been taking over not just the gaming industry, not just the entertainment industry. We've been seeing it at Target and Walmart and, every other company. And thankfully, we live in a country that still has the soul of libertarians. Our country was founded on such precepts, and that still exists, and we guard our freedoms very jealously, and the general public has turned against all of this stuff, and it's manifested in the way we voted in the most recent election. And now we have people in place that are saying, you know what? Not only is this anti-American, but it's illegal. And since you never changed those laws, you're going to be prosecuted. And these companies are getting sued. And there's a lot of companies that we're going to see in the next 5 years going bankrupt because of the lawsuits over this kind of stuff.
The game companies have been under the force and narrative that the majority thinks that like California, and they're learning the hard way. That's
Yeah.
not the case. I have no idea who this studio was, and I have no idea what the game is. It could have been some, I don't know if it was Spider-Man 2 or
But
if it was
also
Alan
know
Wake
that
or something
Sweet
else.
Baby Inc. had its hands in so many companies and games. And everyone even said, what value are they bringing? They're destroying these companies. Yes, they are. That was their goal. Not literally.
I bet this was the studio that made Alan Wake.
Could be.
Because they're probably saying, if we call Alan Wake 2, shouldn't Alan Wake be the main character you play as? And they yelled at him, no, straight white man, no, you can't have that be the main character. I'm seriously wondering this, if that was the studio. We don't know. I don't know. That's just speculation on my part. But I keep wondering when the day is going to come when we look back on this and said, I can't believe people listened to or were pressured by these people. But I think we're not out of the woods yet, and we're still dealing with this. I am going to say this to the games industry. I know Nintendo has already pushed the $80 price tag for the new Mario Kart. Other companies are probably going to start bringing things up to $80 or more. You can't be charging an arm and a leg for these games and have these woke narratives, and they will not sell.
Point.
They will not sell.
Darth Plato points out in the 1790s, radicals shouted down theater plays because the content wasn't revolutionary enough. So they started putting out propaganda and people stopped going to see the plays.
It was in France. Yes.
Shocking. And
that was after the revolution. That was after the revolution. Yes.
And because the modern entertainment industry didn't know this history, they didn't learn their history, they are friggin' repeating it.
Look, you and I knew this was bad.
Everybody knew it was bad.
I'm not against diverse characters or in games. It just has to be organic. It has to be a creative reason for it.
I mean, it's like, what's his name in that movie? Everyone.
Yes. So, yeah, that's Sweet Baby Inc. So we've learned more about them. Sweet Baby Inc., too, I want to say, they're the consultant firm that gets all the attention, but I think there are other of these firms out there, too. This is what we got. This is what we've been dealing with for the past 10 years. This is the ultimate. This is where we are. I don't know how to fix this, but we're running into other problems.
We have an article coming up where we're gonna address it in just a moment. I think we've turned this corner. I probably should have ordered these better, but that's okay. We'll get to it.
Agent Boomer, have you seen the prices for the controllers for the Xbox, PlayStation 5, and the Switch 2? Have they gone up in price? I think last time I looked at a PlayStation 5 controller, it was $70, $69.99. Don't quote me on that. They might be increasing the prices.
Watch them blame the tariffs for that.
They will blame the tariffs.
Their slave labor overseas is now more expensive because of the tariffs. So now you're no longer getting the benefits of slave labor.
Yeah, I've heard that, Geek Flag. I know that Smash JT has had to deal with them as well. We'll be getting to Smash JT in a little bit. But
as a matter of fact, we're going to get to Smash JT right now.
Transition. There we go. Okay, so I'm not going to read this entire article. It's long.
And this one also comes from that Park Place.
It strikes me as interest to you, Troy, since you're into this court stuff, though.
Yes, I very much am. Let's not go too deep into it.
I'm not going to go too deep. I'm going to read a bit from it, though. Okay, in late 2024, former Kotaku senior editor Alyssa Mercanti filed a lawsuit against YouTube personality Smash JT in the United States District Court for the Eastern District of New York. Represented by attorney Ron Coleman of the Coleman Law Firm, Smash JT filed a motion to dismiss the original complaint, asserting that the statements at issue were either protected under the First Amendment as satire, hyperbole, opinion, or lacked the specificity required to qualify as actionable defamation under New York and California law. Coleman also pointed out that the Mercanti Smash JT lawsuit was filed in New York. In his motion to dismiss, he challenged the court's authority to hear the case, arguing that Smash JT, who resides in California and operates his platform from that state, does not have sufficient ties to New York to warrant jurisdiction. He maintained that merely posting online content accessible in New York does not establish the kind of direct intentional conduct that the state required under jurisdictional law. Coleman's response additionally emphasized the statements such as She sucks something for money. I'm sure it was lemons. While vulgar and crude were expressions of opinion, not verifiable factual claims. The defense argued that Mercanti herself has posted jokes on social media referred to similar language. So
she said it herself, and he just repeated.
I love the age we're living in. I mean, I figured if you were an editor at a magazine, this was something that women used to fight for to get these kind of jobs, and that maybe you should hold yourself up to a certain decorum in your public life when you are an editor. But we are in 2025 and everything has to be okay. And that Tarzia's commentary fell within the realm of protected speech. Tarzia, I believe, is Smash JT's last name.
Is Smash JT.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Amended complaint file. So there was an amended complaint on April 18, 2025. Alyssa Mercanti submitted a first amended complaint in U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of New York for her lawsuit against Smash JT. The amended filing expands the scope and structure of the original 37-page complaint, more than doubling its length to 79 pages. Now, of course, part of me wonders, is that legal? I guess can you amend a complaint while you're in the middle of proceedings, or do you have to go with the original complaint and then refile under the new complaint? I mean,
it depends on the state's law.
Okay.
Local law. I don't know New York law that well.
This is what I brought up, though. There was something in the article. There's a lot of legal stuff in here, which is worth reading. But here's the headline: Stochastic Terror Theory. The most legally ambitious component of the amended complaint is its introduction of a cause of action for stochastic terror, a term used to describe the incitement of targeted harassment through public rhetoric without direct instruction to do harm. While the complaint offers a detailed explanation of the theory and references a Washington state court's default judgment recognizing it in a separate case, New York has not adopted this concept as a recognized tort. The complaint alternately pleads this under the theory of prima facie tort if the court is unwilling to adopt stochastic terror as a standalone claim. However, because the legal community has not yet established clear precedent for this framework in New York, it remains uncertain whether the court will allow the claim to proceed. So I'm going to try to maybe dumb this down, but maybe I'm not getting this. So he said mean things about me, and other people harass me. Therefore, it's his fault the other people harass me. Is that what that is?
It's exactly what it is. And the fact is, the best defense is, did I say anything that wasn't true? Because here's the defense. If you're going to hold that is actionable, then every media outlet in the country must be immediately shut down.
Forget about that. What if you post a complaint about someone on Facebook and there's a dog pile? Can that person then sue you? Not that I believe in dog piles.
That would be the argument. Yeah. Did you ever leave a review on Yelp?
There you go. And then we'll find out who you are. And this person's business went under because of your slander.
Yeah.
A central challenge.
But anyone that reasonably thinks about it realizes, no, it's just people are making people aware of, just like a review. People are letting people know what you stand for and letting them know the truth. And you're going to suffer the consequence of your own action.
Well, he also complained.
You can't blame the messenger for that.
She contacted his wife. She went directly after her that way. So that I know he cared about that. But a central challenge
that's the other point. If she gets her wish and can go after him for that, he'll just countersue for exactly the same thing. You tried to destroy my marriage. You went to my wife and tried to elicit a divorce.
This will be an interesting case. We'll see how it turns out. I'd have to think they'd be nuts to even accept this as stochastic, whatever it is. Stochastic terror.
It is New York.
No, stochastic terror.
Yeah.
It's New York, but it's not California. Even they have to have more sense in this. I don't know. Okay.
We'll see.
A central challenge for the plaintiff will be establishing a direct causal link between Tarzia's comment and specific damages alleged, namely the loss of her employment, reputational harm, and psychological distress, while the complaint included screenshots, quotes. No, I'm going to say this too. No, how you conduct yourself in public when you work for a company, that may have had something to do with you being let go, but I don't even know if that's why she was let go. It could have been for other reasons. While the complaint includes screenshots, quotes, and references to external social media and YouTube content, it often relies on inferences and patterns rather than explicit instructions or communications directly connecting Tarzia to specific threats or
There is
outcomes.
another a follow-up article that we didn't get to, and I'm just going to sum it up real quick. Just get over to Smash JT and to that Park Place.
Yes.
But she's Mercante's been discovered trying to eliminate online history,
Yeah.
which is going to get her some serious trouble with the courts as well.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent of trying to shred documents.
Dude, your defense attorney needs to be focusing on what you're doing and telling you what
Her
to and not
defense
to do.
attorney is an idiot. He
Okay.
shouldn't even be practicing law.
Yeah, because that's where the defense attorney comes in and says, "You do what I tell you to do and shut your mouth." That's usually what happens. For example, while the lawsuit complaint argues the threats against Mercante increased after each Smash JT video, the legal bar for proving the correlation amounts to actual causation remains high. The court may scrutinize whether the evidence provided is sufficient to move beyond inference and establish legal liability. Now, I don't think I have to mention this to the chat. I know you're good people here. Do not go harassing Alyssa Mercante or anyone else on YouTube.
Oh yeah, you don't have to. Just
Yes.
leave her alone. She's doing a good enough
She's
job.
going to hoist herself up by her own petard. Yes. Overall, the amended complaint significantly expands the factual record, but whether it overcomes the legal vulnerabilities raised in Coleman's initial motion to dismiss remains to be seen. The court will likely weigh the balance between protecting individuals from coordinated harassment and upholding First Amendment protections for online speech, particularly in cases involving public figures. She is a public figure, so is Smash JT.
Yep.
She was an editor. She was a very visible editor at Kotaku, and he is a
he's a media personality. I mean,
he has a YouTube
he
channel.
He may not even see himself that way, but yeah, he's a media personality. He's a news outlet, a gaming news outlet, anyway.
Yeah. With the amendment Mercante lawsuit complaint now filed, is likely Smash JT he'll respond with renewed motion to dismiss. So, Park Place will continue to monitor report development in the case, and I wish Smash JT. I'm sure this is not good for him and his family to be having to go through this nonsense, and I hope that there's a swift resolution.
You know, she was trying to raise money to make some sort of a documentary or something about her time at Kotaku. She couldn't raise more than $400.
Yeah, no one's interested.
Because we're all giving our money to Smash JT for his legal fees, because he represents all of us in a way.
Maybe it's me, and maybe I'm reading the tea leaves wrong. I don't think the gaming industry is in great shape right now, and I think that all this political activism is soon going to be pointless. I don't know. Let's move on to the next article. Where you have Nintendo is back in the news.
So I've been shouting to own physical media for so long, and now they're finding ways to circumvent the very concept of physical media.
Now, I tried thinking back to how we got here, because there were complaints that I remember on PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4, rather. I bought Spyro, the Spyro trilogy that got released, and then people online were saying, yeah, but a bunch of that game is not on your actual Blu-ray disc. You have to download it from the internet.
Yep.
Because the game wasn't finished at the time of printing those discs. Now, to be fair, I think Activision, when they get the game completed and they do new reprintings, the game is all on the disc. I will try to explain, though, how this whole problem might have started. Sony, when they made the PlayStation 3, went with Blu-ray as the media to sell their games on.
True.
There's just one problem with Blu-rays. Blu-rays cannot read like DVDs or CD-ROMs, so I believe you could not actually play the game directly off the Blu-ray disc. What would have to happen is the game on the Blu-ray disc would download onto your console. Now, technically speaking, this is still a physical copy of the game. It's just that the computer has to install it. Your personal game console installs it rather than reading directly off
and let's face it, that's the way it always was back in the day.
On
with
computers.
The original physical media. Yeah, exactly.
On computers. Whereas game cartridges could be read directly, and of course, original PlayStation games on CD-ROM, and then PlayStation 2 games on DVD. And I have a suspicion Sony went with the Blu-ray format because Like with the PlayStation 2, one of the big selling points was, hey, it's a DVD player. You get a DVD player. And DVD was still relatively new. Some people at the time didn't have DVD players yet. Now I can just buy the game system. I get a DVD player and a game console. And I think they thought the same would happen with the PlayStation 3.
That is a huge selling feature. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think they were going to do the same with the PlayStation 3. But the problem is that the PlayStation 3, when it launched, was in some ways prohibitively expensive and it didn't sell too well. Later on, they released a newer model later on, which slimmed down the price. And they call it the PlayStation Slim. Maybe that was a pun intended. But the point is, at that point, while there were still patches being released for video games and stuff like that, they still were basically on the disc still. Like, you might get a patched version that made the game play later by downloading a patch from the internet, but basically the game you bought was on the disc. If you didn't have access to the internet, you could still play the game you bought. Fast forward to now, I don't quite know what's been going on with PlayStation 4, Xbox One, but I suspect certain companies would decide, hey, well, we're really on crunch, but we have a deadline to hit. Why don't we just release the disc and then it'll download part of the game onto your system, and some of the game won't be on the disc when we release it. I don't know if this has happened with Switch cartridges, because Switch cartridges, the games are usually physical. That's one of the reasons why the last Zelda game leaked online like 2 weeks before it came out, because it was actually on the actual cartridge they sold, the card they sold. So pirates were leaking it online. We got here because of a jerk who lied about his experience as a customer of Blockbuster and came up with Netflix, an online rental service, which led to Game Pass. Oh, yeah, I know. Okay, here we are though with Nintendo Switch 2. Nintendo Switch 2 has now announced that some games will not be game I guess cards or whatever Nintendo calls them. I still don't call them cartridges, even though they're little cards, right? They will be game key cards instead, right? And essentially, what it is it's a key you plug into your game console, and then the game downloads from the internet, and you can play the game by plugging your game key card into your console. The game is not actually on the console. Do you understand?
Right.
Now, from what I've heard, the stuff Nintendo is releasing, at least the Mario Kart and I believe the Donkey Kong game, they're both going to be on cartridges. But it seems like a number of third-party games, a lot of these big third-party games they announced at the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct are all going to be these game key cards. So let me read the article. Pre-orders for the Switch 2 software have gone live in Japan. And let me see. Okay, I've gone live in Japan, and players have realized every third-party release seen so far is a game key card. Game key cards, Nintendo's new branding for cartridges, that still require the game to be downloaded from the Switch 2 online store before the game can be played. The cartridge doesn't contain the game data; rather, it's simply a key that enables the download. Game key cards are different from regular game cards because they don't contain the full game data, Nintendo says. Instead of game key card is your key to downloading the full game to your system via the internet. After it's downloaded, you can play the game by inserting the game key card into your system and starting it up like a standard physical card. As originally pointed out on X by Gamatsu, the physical versions of every third-party Switch 2 title currently up for pre-order appears to be a game key card rather than the full game itself. VGC has checked out the Japanese online store Yodobashi and can confirm that of the 11 new third-party Switch 2 games currently listed on the site with box art, all 11 of them have a logo on the front of the box designating them as game key cards. Now, to be fair, I will give Nintendo credit for at least being transparent about this. But I'm still bothered. Every game here,
I was going to say that's a pretty low bar, but yeah, you're right.
I mean, they are being. I mean, they have it on the front. But every game here with a white bar at the bottom and a black rectangle next to the rating is a game key card. The full list of games on the site that have the game key card logo on their packaging is Bravely Default, Flying Fairy, Demon X Machina, Titanic Skion, Kunitsu Gami, Path of the Goddess, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S, Raidu Remastered, Shine Post, Be Your Idol, Sonic X Shadow Generation, Street Fighter 6, Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster, Survival Kids, Yakuza 0 Director's Cut. Of the third-party games listed at the retailer, only 2 marvelous titles, Rune Factory, Gardens of Azuma, and Story of Seasons Grand Bazaar, aren't game key cards. They aren't full Switch 2 games, however. Rather, they're Switch 2 editions of standard Switch games containing both the Switch 1 game on the cartridge and the Switch 2 upgrade.
Yeah.
Are you confused enough yet?
No, I am not. I'm not paying attention to the details. I'll be honest with you. What it comes down to is you will own nothing and you will be happy. They want to keep you tethered to the internet, proving every single time that you play the game that you paid for it. And if you want to keep playing it, you may have to pay something in the future as well.
Okay. So here are my opinions on this. I think that optical media for playing games is an obsolete technology, and I agree it's going back to these cards, or maybe even consoles could come up with these things called cartridges to store the games on now. God, we've sort of come full circle. But I have a suspicion that these game key cards cost less money than buying an actual Nintendo cartridge card, right? Like this is probably less money. Here's my problem: when you get a game on the cartridge card, it would run the game basically off of the card. I mean, updates and patches they're on the regular console, but the idea is you actually save memory space by buying the physical card. You don't have to worry about installing it on the game system. It runs directly off the card. If they do this, then these could be huge games taking up what precious memory you have on the Switch 2. And I don't know if the Switch 2 can. I mean, I don't. You're going to run out of space real quick by buying these things.
In that case, Boomer, if you save memory by having it resident on the
cartridge, yes.
Cartridge,
yes.
Would that not mean a better game experience? I mean, it would be there'd be more free space to
Here's what it is. I own a lot of Switch games. I own many cartridges. I also own a lot digitally. Sometimes digitally is the only way you can buy a game. Sometimes it's just really a lot cheaper than buying a physical game. It's a trade-off. Like, for instance, I got the Tomb Raider trilogy remastered. Had I known there was a physical edition coming out, I probably would have waited and gotten the physical edition. But, I can at least play it directly off the console. I don't have to insert a cartridge each time I want to play it. So there's that. It's a mixed bag. There's win and lose with each of these things. But to me, a game key card is like the worst of both worlds, because you don't really own it, but then you have the pain in the butt thing of having to plug this game key card each time you do it. The only thing you can do is I guess you could resell it. You can probably resell a game key card, which you can't do with digital items yet until the law changes. For instance, wouldn't it be neat if I could actually sell my digital copy of Tomb Raider for like half
what it
off
comes down to is we can share our
installed on their system. Mm-hmm.
We can share our opinions about it. We can grouse all we want, but ultimately, those of you that would be inclined to pay for these things are the ones that are going to either enable them to keep doing this to you, or withhold your money and send a message, we're mad as hell and we're not going to take it anymore. And there are too many industries right now where people are going, well, I got to have the thing, so here's my money. And, well, you've just empowered them to turn you into a slave.
I actually wanted to give Nintendo actually got a lot of props this last generation, because out of all the companies, they were actually very good. If you wanted physical editions of games, the Switch was pretty good for that. You got these physical cards, the game was on there. I know there's a thing I read online where you have to make sure you plug them into your console at least once a year to make sure they keep a minor electrical charge. Otherwise, they might delete on yourself. But like if you don't use a Switch cartridge for a number of years, it might actually delete on itself. But
Jonathan Conroy brings up the point, digital and physical media, if new, are going to be the same price. And if that's the case, then why would if I have a choice between the two, why would I ever choose digital? I'll take physical.
But what happened when the online services are gone and your game console you don't get the game anymore? It's done.
Exactly.
You can't use your game key card to download a game.
You do not own it. You only own a license that they can revoke at any time.
Yeah. And then
You are
Netflix.
literally renting these games. Is the business model they are forcing you into?
But
I
they're
say
not.
force you into. You don't have to buy into it. You could say, F you, I've got all the games I need. I don't need your new thing.
That's basically where I'm kind of getting to with me. I mean, and to be fair,
Mhm.
the consoles I currently use, the Switch, even the Xbox One and PlayStation 4, aren't completely dead yet. Games still come out on them. But this is really bad. Both Netflix and Game Pass offer the same thing. Rent, keep, or buy it. The U.S. mail service, well, until smart TVs were a thing, lead to online video streaming services. Yeah, it's where we are now. It's this whole Klaus Schwab thing. You'll own nothing and be happy.
And I'm just saying, you forget the power that you have as a consumer. If you
Next,
allow it, this is what they're going to do to you.
next generation game console got better online connection, which led to new versions of Game Pass, like the PlayStation Store. Yeah, and I don't like any of this online stuff. For instance, I know I've done the Nintendo subscription thing. It's $20 for a year. You know, you get access to all these NES games, but you don't really own them. You can just play them online. Now, to be fair, it's $20, so I'm not paying through the nose. And even with a lot of the digital games I buy, I try to make sure I'm not paying more than $20 for any digital game, because in the back of my head, I know technically I don't really own this. I own a license. Hopefully, this game will work on my console as long as it functions, but nothing's a guarantee. Also, some games you can only get digitally, like I said. A lot of sometimes they come out physically, but it's a limited edition. For instance, that the Thing game that came out from Night Dive, the Thing remaster that came out, we're actually getting a physical
Right.
edition of it on the Switch. I'm glad I didn't buy it digitally. Now I'm going to get the physical edition to own a physical edition, but I feel like my best physical collections are going to be the games that I bought many years ago before we had the internet over everything.
Absolutely true. What I find interesting is that a lot of the old games that we talk about sometimes on good old days and whatnot,
Yeah.
Netter's been selling off some of our physical media. People are buying it. You wouldn't believe the market that's out there for it. And I have to wonder if this isn't part of why.
People, I'm hearing Gen Z, they're actually trying to go back to old technology. They're missing tactile stuff. Because think
Yeah.
about it, they didn't have access to it like we did, or even the millennials did. I hear they're getting into CDs again. I mean, this is so
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see, but I got to tell you,
Everything old is new again.
I've not been sold on the Switch 2 yet. $500. I heard the launch was a disaster. Probably people are now scalping it online. Nexus mods. Oh yes. Now we went to the
Yeah.
big Oblivion news.
So after we were talking, and see, this is the one that should have come right after the Sweet Baby talk that we were at. Sweet Baby talk. That was unintentional.
Remember when Sweet
But
Baby Talk was something nice, and now it's something you cringe. This is our
exactly.
modern times. Yes.
But I did say I see us turning a corner. The thing is, you've got these neo-Marxist companies trying to force social change
Yeah.
by taking over all the institutions of entertainment, and I was basically saying these companies need to push back because they're not in the business of changing hearts and minds. They're in the business of making money. Just stop it and
Yeah.
make the best product you can, or go out of business. And I think companies are starting to realize that and are starting to push back.
One of the very, very small changes in Oblivion Remastered is a switch from the character creator from male and female bodies, as it was in the original, to body type 1 and body type 2. It's the sort of thing you would likely go entirely unnoticed were it not for the distressing, predictable explosion of outrage from the usual corners of toxic gamerdom, and in short order, the creation of a mod that brought back the original male-female body options. Wait a minute, you mean toxic gamerdom?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you have a right to complain about that if you don't like the
Yeah.
body type 1. Now, would that be enough to get me not to buy the game? No. But at the same time, I'm not going to pick on someone else where it would be enough to get them to not buy the game, because we each have our threshold of censorship where we're just done. No more changes. I'll be talking about Doctor Who again on Friday, where we ran into a change where I was done. No,
you have to understand that there is and always has been a modder community out there that wants to create mods for games that effectively don't change anything for anyone else except for the user. Back when it was, what was it? Doom. Doom had a mod where you could turn all the baddies into stormtroopers and your chainsaw into a lightsaber.
Yeah,
and
they had a
stuff like
Simpsons mod too with Doom, which I thought, do you get to shoot Homer? I don't know what that's about.
Yeah, and I just downloaded one, although I'm not tech savvy enough to figure out how to use it. There's a mod for Star Trek Online where it takes all of the Star Trek Online non-Star Trek but Star Trek sounding music and replaces it with all the theme songs and theme music from all the different movies and TV shows.
Oh, okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
and people do that with some of the old Super Nintendo games. Like, apparently, I'm not savvy enough to do this, but like the old Super Nintendo Star Wars games, where you can actually replace the music in it with the John Williams soundtrack. And to be fair, the people who made the music on the Super Nintendo, they were following those compositions as closely as they could with the Super Nintendo sound chip. So replacing them with the actual music doesn't really affect anything. It's like it just makes it a little more. For a few days, the Nexus mods made a point of removing the mod. Okay, here's the thing. If someone wants to use the mod or not use the mod, that's up to them. What does it matter? Right. It's a mod. There are mods all over the place for these games, and that's also been a big thing with Skyrim. So for a few days,
let's put it this way. Some of the mods they have out there, let's just say what you do at home is entirely up to you. But if it were to impact the community game, that would be very, very bad. So
this is just change of text on the front screen, and it's not a big deal that they made. This is the argument I hear people online making, which I actually tend to agree with. If it's not a big deal for them to have changed at the beginning, why is it a big deal for us to change it back if we so choose? For a few days, Nexus mods made a point of removing the mod calling body type selector whenever it was uploaded and re-uploaded because, of course, these guys can't take no for an answer. But now Nexus has changed course and decided to allow the mod to stand. The reason, according to the community notice on the mod page, is that the mod itself doesn't violate any policies and that the previous uploads were taken down not because of their content, but because of the uploader's behavior. This sounds like they're covering their butts, basically.
Yeah, so let me translate, and I am going into the realm of opinion and supposition here, but I think I'm on pretty good grounds here. They said, "Oh, this is bad. We're going to ban this," and the community almost overwhelmingly shot back, "BS, you are," and there was such an outcry. They were like, damn, we better end this right now. Are we in business to make business? Then we need to back off. And so, well, what reason do we give that we took it down? Oh, it was those individuals that
those toxic gamers that hate.
Yeah, those guys did something that
want to push their agenda on everybody.
but if you want to do it, you go right ahead. You haven't done anything wrong, and we're sorry. Please keep giving us money.
The Mass Effect remaster edited out Miranda's butt. There's a mod that fixes. So yes to the mods. Yes, sometimes the mods are the only way to go. That doesn't help if you're on console because you don't really get mods really on consoles. I will say this though, that Doom game I gave you, you can download a bunch of Doom mods if you ever want to play that Star Wars one you mentioned. It's on there. They actually They actually work with they actually put them on there for free. You can just download them.
By the way, did I mention this article came from Mark Melnikoff? By the way, it's another one from our man on the street.
Do I don't remember this outcry in the old WWE creator and character mode? Well, that's the thing. It's just you choose male or female, and it's just then they started going to body type 1 and 2 because it's this whole there's we can't say what is gender.
And you're only allowing there's also going to be people that are going to be changing the graphics as well. And you don't want to give us female body type with big gazongas? We'll make our own big gazongas.
Let's start with Cyberpunk 2077. I think they were the first ones to start doing this. Or at least it was the first time I noticed this change from male to female to body type 1 and 2. All right, moving on to... Hey, baby.
Hey, those furries, they're everywhere.
I'm just saying. Okay.
Is that body type 1 or 2?
I don't know, man. I'm thinking back to the serving wench in Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, and like, granted, this is not a Baldur's Gate game. I'm thinking this is that's just a bit of a downgrade. Unless you're into this sort of thing, I'm not judging you. Okay. Anyway, maybe I should be. Anyway, gamers shocked as Elder Scrolls 4 revealed and launched on the same day. Video game studio Bethesda has announced the long-rumored launch of a remastered version of its 2006 hit Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. The fourth installment of the series has maintained a cult following among fans, despite it being almost 2 decades since its original release. Do you know who is a voice actor in Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion?
I wouldn't know.
Patrick Stewart, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, of course he does. He's everywhere. Yeah. He's like horse droppings. He's everywhere.
Okay. Now,
okay, maybe that's an exaggeration. I mean, he's not Pedro Pascal.
No, but he did play poop in the Emoji Movie. Anyway, moving on.
That is true.
The installment of the series has maintained a cult following among fans, despite it being almost 2 decades since its original release. Now, gamers have been surprised as a remaster of the classic game has not only been announced, but released to digital stores immediately. I never have any idea why they do this. They say, here's this remaster. When does it come out? Right now. It's like there's no anticipation. It comes as fans wait the next game in the series, with most recent entry Elder Scrolls V Skyrim having been released in 2011. That's a while ago.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's going to be getting its 15th anniversary next year, which I'm sure Bethesda will capitalize by releasing yet another edition of it. More than 600,000 people watched the live announcement on YouTube, and the reveal that the game would be available immediately drew shock and excitement from those watching, with many viewers writing "Praise be Todd" in the comments in reference to Bethesda director Todd Howard.
That's funny.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
Okay. In 2006, Oblivion launched on PC and Xbox 360 console as the product of co-publishing agreement between Bethesda and Take-Two Interactive's label 2K Games. Oblivion was a really defining moment in the series, Howard said in the announcement. I think with a remaster, we want people to feel the way they did then, but it's still a game of its time. You want to keep the bones in place, he said. Bethesda showed off a series of significant graphic upgrades in this launch video with updated gameplay, user interface, and audio systems. The picture you're seeing here is from the original game, not from the remaster, just in case you're curious. Players will be able to... I heard this character now looks like Betty Page in the remaster. I'm kidding, of course. Okay, just... players will be able to upgrade their characters in a new way, combining systems both from the original and the sequel. One of the developers called the remaster a love letter to the original game. Set in the open world of Tamriel, the game places players in an empire on the verge of downfall after the mysterious death of Emperor Uriel Septim VII leaves behind a vacant throne and missing heir. That might have been he might have been voiced by Patrick Stewart. Rachel Howie, a content creator and Twitch partner, said the game was long overdue. The currently very trendy remaster treatment. It's such a great opportunity for the generation who grew up thinking Skyrim was peak role-playing to meet its charming little brother, she added. Oblivion ranked 9.5 million sales, according to gaming website Polygon, and is fondly remembered by fans. Skyrim then released 5 years later to a massive response, selling more than 40 million copies across generations of the consoles. It has been re-released on 2 generations of consoles since it first came out. So the attention's all been on Skyrim because that was even more popular. So now we're finally getting is this Morrowind?
So this probably means a lot more to you than it does to me, but if I'm understanding this correctly,
yes,
it sounds like the fans of Elder Scrolls consider this to be a good thing.
Yes, no, it's a good thing, and I actually own this game on PlayStation 3. It's funny, I got Elder Scrolls 4 on PlayStation 3, and I was going to get Skyrim on PlayStation 3, and then I kept reading online about how the game freezes your PlayStation 3, and I'm like, wow, are they going to fix that? And Bethesda's saying, yeah, we really can't fix that, sorry. It really plays better on the Xbox 360. I'm like, well, I'm not buying your sequel then. I didn't get it till I got a PlayStation 4. It's like, I'm not going to buy it now.
Right. Right.
but nothing.
I'm looking at this not as a gamer, but I'm looking at it from a marketing standpoint, and I'm kind of mixed on this. On the one hand, you're missing all the opportunity to build excitement and this and that. But then when I hear what you say about how long it's been since the last one, I don't think there's enough goodwill to build anticipation. You need to just say, you know what? You've waited long enough. We're announcing it today, and you can order it now.
But this is a remaster of an old game, but this will allow a lot of current players who maybe didn't get a chance to play it on the 360 or PC or play. I imagine it's still available on PC. And maybe you could still download the old version on Xbox, but I don't know.
Is this the screen capture of the old version?
Yes.
Or the new version? Okay.
The old version.
I was going to say, because it looked a little chonky to me. I'll bet the graphics would be better now, yeah.
I've heard you buy her a saucer of milk, she's yours. I'm just saying. Okay, I'm sorry. I can't. I can't deal with this, man.
We're lucky that she's wearing a bodice that is like a normal human fit. You'd expect there to be 3 lumps on either side.
Is this what Bothans? Oh, dude, I don't even want to think about that. Now this is the. Okay, I'm thinking of Bothans from Star Wars now, right? Aren't they cat people? Wasn't that revealed later on?
More like dog people, but yeah, very similar look to that, yes.
Okay, all right, let's move on. Okay, Elder Scrolls 4, I believe that's the subtitle is Morrowind, available now. I don't know if it's available on anything I own, but like I said, I have the PlayStation 3 version. I'd rather play it with those stunning graphics. Sydney Sweeney, you have nothing on Tiger Lady there. I'm sorry. Just go home.
But here's the thing. I looked at this and I'm thinking, my understanding is that Sydney Sweeney and Michael Bay are producing this. There's nothing that says she's starring in it.
Why wouldn't she be starring in it?
I know. I agree with you. But we haven't. I don't see them having said that.
Let's read this. Michael Bay and Sydney Sweeney team on movie adaptation of Outrun video game at Universal. With a Minecraft movie owning the box office over the past month and HBO's Last of Us returning with a bang, Universal is looking to add its own video game adaptation to the mix with the help of 2 big superstars. Sources tell Deadline that the studio is developing a feature adaptation of Sega's iconic arcade video game Outrun, with Michael Bay attached to direct and Sydney Sweeney on board to produce. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Where is she? You're not going to cast her? Why? Jason Rothwell will pen the script.
This doesn't mean she's not going to be starring in it. She may, let's face it, as producer, and if she wants the role, it's hers, right?
Okay, they will also produce alongside partner Brad Fuller through their Platinum Dunes banner, which has a first look deal with the studio. The project is in development as of right now. Sweeney is only on board to produce. Toru Nakahara, Sonic the Hedgehog 1 through 3, Knuckles, Golden Axe will also produce for Sega, and Shuji Utsumi, President COO of Sega Corp, will oversee the project on behalf of Sega. Plot details are vague. Well, the plot details were vague in the arcade game.
Yeah, there isn't a lot to it. In fact, I saw Jesse Guajardo said it sounds like Michael Bay is trying to make his own version of Fast and Furious, only with more explosives. That second part of your sentence, the thing about more explosives, that's kind of a problem, because you're absolutely right. That is a Michael Bay staple, and I don't think it fits into Outrun. Outrun has almost no story.
Outrun, I believe you're racing against a timer. I don't think you're racing against other racers. If memory serves, correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. I actually have on the Switch. You can get the original arcade game, and it was rather neat. It's it's Sega's Super Scaler arcade game. It's like when you get in the arcade, you actually sit behind the wheel, like you're in a car,
right?
And you'd be driving, and it was pretty nifty back in the day. Yeah, but
and this was in the early days of. This wasn't even, no 3D graphics. This
not was polygons.
This was like the Doom style, fake 3D.
Sort of.
But it's still good.
This was a technology Sega used called super scaling. They never were able to really bring it to consoles because the Sega Genesis couldn't really do super scaling. The
Right.
32X could sort of do it, the add-on, but by the time they got to the Saturn and other systems, they were moving into polygons anyway. So
This
this
is
would,
this
yeah,
is key. I'm going to bring this comment up. Jesse
yeah.
Guajardo says, I never played Outrun,
Oh,
and therein I think is a big problem here.
yeah.
Was this a big game? Yes, but not because it was such a great game. It was a big game because it hit at just the right time and it was moderately novel. We enjoyed the realism of sitting down in the car in the arcade with the surround sound and driving the car really fast. You got to drive the nice sports car with the pretty blonde on your arm.
Yes. What else
That
do you
was,
need?
that
I
was
mean, yes. It's,
all the story there is. So on the one hand, if they're trying to do their version of, they're trying to reproduce the Minecraft, success.
yes.
This isn't going to do it because you got people like Jesse Guajardo and actually a whole generation of people that would be going to see this movie who don't even know what this game
The
is.
kids
And
don't know Outrun. Do you know why the kids don't know Outrun? Because Sega, for whatever reason, has sat on Outrun for years and not bothered
true.
making a new Outrun. There's nothing stopping Sega, especially since this was a pseudo 3D game back in the day, from making a brand new Outrun game that's really cool and really well received. And I'm sure the gaming media would embrace it and it might sell. And then you have something to base your movie on, something current. But Sega doesn't do that. The only racing games they make are like Sonic racing games. Sega used to have a whole line of different racing games. They had,
But here is
yeah.
the possible upside to this. The fact that there is so little story does give them the ability to infer story. You know what I'm saying?
It's the name. They're buying the name.
Right, exactly. And as long as you have the car, the guy, and the girl, and a reason for them to drive really fast, as long as you do a good story, you could have your next Fast and the Furious. Now, don't go that far with story. Don't start working in, jailbreaks and
Yep.
spy missions and
Yes.
outer space missions. Just think what's it called? Speed Racer. Think Speed Racer.
I still have a
Keep
soft
it
spot
simple.
for the Fast and the Furious series, but it hit its zenith in the middle because that's when it wasn't quite in the spy territory yet, but it was being more adventure orientated. It had a kind of a sweet spot. Now they've
Darth
gotten a little
Plato,
ridiculous.
thank you for the $2 super chat. Is saying, "Where's my Q*bert movie?" You make a joke, but we've got an article coming up that, talk
Okay.
about thin ideas for movies.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Again, I'm going to say about Q*bert, another game that the kids don't know. Who owns Q*bert? Sony owns Q*bert. Last time I saw Q*bert in any media was in the Wreck-It Ralph movie, and poor Q*bert was kind of in the game, in that game world, he was sort of like homeless, and like I think Ralph gives him the cherry he took from the Pac-Man world because he felt bad for Q*bert because nobody plays Q*bert anymore.
Yeah.
It was, and the thing is, Sony could do stuff with Q*bert, maybe get the kids into it again, but maybe not. I don't know. Except Spy Hunter. There was supposed to be a Spy Hunter movie with Dwayne the Rock Johnson. I kid you not. That was supposed to happen.
Oh my god.
But again, Spy Hunter, that's like espionage. It's in the title of the game. You could probably do more with that. In fact, I would argue one of the best video game adaptations was Rampage, which also had Dwayne the Rock Johnson in it, and it was a cool little monster movie, which I actually was a lot better than I yes.
I was going to say, Netter and I saw that. It was one of the last movies we saw at the drive-in.
Yeah.
And I really liked that movie. And I was like, okay. I thought, okay, this is just going to be your basic kaiju film, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was way more than that. And I'm like, there's way more story than I would have expected from a Rampage. So if they did something like that with this, I'd say, yeah, you go. But Michael Bay is not known for great
subtlety.
But I don't know. Maybe Sydney Sweeney being involved, maybe she'll be like, look, if we're doing this thing, we better get a good writer.
Yeah. Outrun is just a game where you race from one end of the country to another and make the best time. And one of the things about it is you could kind of see like real life monuments in the game. Like if you're driving in California into one stage, you'd see
So
like, and it
there's your
was,
story.
yeah,
We got to quit comparing it to Fast and Furious. We should be comparing it to like Cannonball Run or something like that.
Troy, it would have been better if Michael Bay had done an action video or CG animated film of Sega's Valkyrie Chronicles games. Yeah, that would have been interesting. That's like a war
I don't
series
know
they
Valkyrie
do.
Chronicles.
It's,
I don't know what that is.
I want to say it's like a fantasy world, but it's more modern military technology, if that makes sense. Like maybe more World War I-esque.
I heard we're
really
going to be getting Gauntlet.
Oh, please. You're joking, right?
No. I heard about it on Midnight's Edge.
Right.
Andre mentioned it.
They should have Jack Black in that too as the wizard. Just keep sticking him in all of these, or Jason Momoa as the warrior. I'm joking. They're going to do that. They'll have Jason Momoa as the barbarian, and they'll have Jack Black as the wizard, and they're going to bounce them off of each other again, like they did.
Actually, I would not necessarily have a problem with it. There is less story in Gauntlet than there is in Minecraft. So yeah.
And you could have Sydney Sweeney as the Valkyrie. I
mean,
the Valkyrie character. And then you could have Orlando Bloom as the elf because he's typecast. There you go. There's your Gauntlet cast.
Well, what's Pedro Pascal going to play?
Oh, good point. No, he'll have to be the elf. You're right. He'll be the elf.
There you go. There you go.
Toys R Us movie.
You see, Darth Plato is coming up with all these wacky ideas for movies that have thin plots, so you're going to have to make something up. How the hell do you do a live action movie about Toys R Us?
I have an idea.
What the heck is that?
I think I know what kind of movie this will be. Story Kitchen and Toys R Us Studios, the entertainment production arm of the global toy brand, have teamed up to develop a live action film. Toys R Us is a cultural touchstone that continues impacting the child in all of us today, except for current children who don't have access to a Toys R Us. I'm sorry, wait, I didn't mean to say that.
Yeah.
Said Story Kitchen co-founders Dimitri M. Johnson.
Everybody I'm seeing online is saying, we don't want a live-action Toys R Us movie. We want friggin' Toys R Us.
And you know what? Screw you, kids. You didn't have Toys R Us. This ain't for you. Go cry in your iPad. That's what okay. Anyway, said Story Kitchen co-founders Dimitri M. Johnson and Mike Goldberg announcing the project as 80s kids who consider Toys R Us one of the most magical places on earth. We're honored to partner to create a film that will capture the spirit of adventure, creativity, and nostalgia that Toys R Us represents. Okay, so this is not going to be a brand movie. I thought this might be a brand movie. Like Tetris, I would argue, is a brand movie because it's about them getting the game out here in the States.
Right.
They did a movie about Nike, a Nike shoe that was a brand movie. They did a movie about the BlackBerry, which apparently was well received, even though nobody buys BlackBerries anymore.
The equivalent of a biopic, except about a brand rather than a person.
Do you know why they started making those? Because they're relatively well received, and you don't have to worry about people screaming. I think they were... What was it? Cancel proof, like people canceling the movie over it. Like the Hot Cheetos movie. That's another brand movie. This is just Toys R Us is
like, look, this is just, we're just telling you something that happened. You don't like it, take it up with history.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's what this is. The film, which is an early development, aims to capture the childhood wonder in a modern, fast-paced adventure that taps into the Toys R Us brand relevance across more than 70 years in the toy industry. As a Toys R Us first film, this project is an exciting opportunity to bring the magic of our brand to the big screen, said Kim Miller-Olko, president of Toys R Us Studios. It will be a journey as boundless as play itself, evoking the electric sense of wonder that is the essence of Toys R Us. The story will capture the imagination, adventure, and joy that has made Toys R Us a destination for kids of all ages. No, it isn't, because the modern kids don't have access to Toys R Us, and that's who you're selling this to. I
this
don't understand
zero sense. How look, I get the idea of a movie scene where a kid walks into a toy store. Okay, we kind of got a little idea of that from the movie Big, right? When he goes into FAO Schwartz, right?
Yes.
But
You can never afford
how do
toys
you
in
make
it, of course.
a whole movie about that? And how do kids feel represented by this? Because kids can't relate to this. Only the adults that grew up with Toys R Us.
This makes no
Every
sense.
Christmas time singing, I don't want to grow up, I'm a Toys R Us kid. You know, that means nothing to our grandkids.
The project has been described as being in the vein of Night at the Museum, Back to the Future, or Big, plus other successful toy-inspired narratives like Jumanji and Barbie. The producers are engaging in preliminary conversations with filmmakers with casting and additional details to be announced in the coming months.
Okay. That part I hadn't heard before, and that changes it all.
What?
This may not even ever happen.
No. I think, you know what they need to call to make this thing? Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott, man. His first family movie.
I have to wonder, there's got to be more to this story that we're not seeing here.
No,
because, do you remember about a year and a half ago, they were talking about Toys R Us coming back?
You just know it was going to be a movie form, man. Movie form.
No. Yeah. Joke aside, though, they were talking about reopening the retail stores, but it was not going to be standalone stores like this. They were going to be like, well, I think originally they were talking about them being storefronts and in strip malls. And I'm like, I just don't see that taking off. Now, if this was a maneuver for the toy company to relaunch, and this was a marketing stunt, that would make sense. And if they were close enough to getting the funding to be able to relaunch, a movie about Toys R Us would be brilliant to coincide with their grand opening. But I don't honestly think that they're actually going to be able to pull something like that off.
The local Toys R Us nearby turned into a car wash. You just give the premise. This kid that loved Toys R Us as a kid and saw it go away. Now he's an adult, and now he's stuck working at the car wash, and he has memories of it being a Toys R Us, and he's trying to get his own kid interested in toys, and the kid just doesn't have the magic. And I'm sorry, I can't do this. And then Jeffrey the Giraffe, though, he sees Jeffrey the Giraffe like in reflections, like in windows and stuff. And he's like, wait a minute, and it's Jeffrey the Giraffe will be a character in this movie. You know that, right?
Jesse is talking to what I was hearing about, that the Toys R Us are back in a limited way. They're inside of Macy's stores wonderful. And stuff like that.
Why don't they get rid of Macy's and bring Toys R Us back? Who cares about Macy's?
Oh, I hate Macy's. I anyone in the Chicago area, who has loved Carson Perry Scott hates Macy's because they took over Carson. But here's the thing: Macy's and all those department stores are going away. They were the corners of all the shopping malls, and all the shopping malls are closing.
I miss Toys R Us. This was, after a while, this became one of my number one places to get video games at. I preferred getting them at Toys R Us than any, because I didn't like GameStop, I'll be honest. I did not like going into GameStop after a while. So I would go into Toys R Us, where they didn't try selling you on 100 things, and they would usually have the games at the proper price anyway. Jeffrey the Giraffe can say, if you build it, the kids will come. You're joking. You are joking that is going to happen in this movie. This will be, he'll be seeing images of Jeffrey the Giraffe, and he'll no, better still, the guy will buy out the car wash from the owner, and he's going to turn it into another Toys R Us, and the magic will come back.
Sashi says that they're still alive over there in Asia, but actually, I think they have Toys R Us in Canada, don't they? Do we have anyone here on the other side of the maple curtain that could confirm that for me?
Will Mitt Romney be the villain in this movie? I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that out loud.
But here's the thing, though. The reason the Toys R Us died here in the United States, they filed Chapter 11 and closed up shop, was exactly the same reason that all the malls are closing and the department stores are closing. They failed to pivot with the times. when you would go into Toys R Us, if you were looking for,
An
I don't
action
know, an
figure.
action figure or whatever, and they didn't have it, you'd say, well, does any other Toys R Us around here have it? I don't know. Can you check the computer? No, we don't have that ability. They weren't tied into other Toys R Us around the country where they could either send you there, yeah, there's one in the next town over, or we can have it shipped here or to your house or whatever. And even worse, as the internet became more prolific, Toys R Us didn't have an online function where you could just shop online with Toys R Us. So now everyone goes to Amazon, they get their toys. Toys R Us, it has a bunch of kids sitting around twiddling their thumbs, looking at their phones all day, and they go, well, we're not getting any business. We're just going to close up shop. Surprise!
But this will bring the magic back, and I just don't understand.
And okay, so you've said they don't have a storyline planned. They haven't announced who's going to be in it. I'll tell you who's going to be in it. It's going to be Pedro Pascal. Speaking of Pedro Pascal,
yes, let's move on to everyone's movie we're all excited for. Is that the newer article?
Nobody is excited for it. No.
This is from the Times of India. I know we originally had a different article. Same thing though. I thought of the brilliance of Octopus. Pedro Pascal shares insights on his character in the Fantastic Four First Steps. Marvel's The Fantastic Four First Steps is one of the most anticipated upcoming superhero movies of this year. Actor Pedro Pascal will be playing the role of Reed Richards, aka Mr. Fantastic, in the movie, while he possesses the ability to stretch his body like a rubber. Like a rubber what? I'm thinking of something else when you say that. Okay, the actor revealed that his character is more about intellect, according to Deadline. Gladiator 2 fame actor Pedro Pascal revealed a huge insight into his understanding of the Reed Richards character in the film. He called it a brain character who also tends to have a superpower of elasticity. In an interview with comicbook.com, as quoted by Deadline, the actor said, with Reed, his body may stretch, but this is a brain character. The actor further compared his character to the brilliance of an octopus. I guess I'll just give it completely away. I thought of the brilliance of an octopus, not in any literal, physical, translated way, but I put it into my subconscious. Yeah. That's the biggest character secret reveal that I've given to you, said Pedro Pascal in an interview with Comic Book, as quoted by Deadline. When further asked if he had read any of the Fantastic Four comics, he said, no, I haven't read the comics. I haven't even read the script. I'm sorry. That wasn't funny. I'm just... crickets. Okay, the makers recently released...
No. The reason it's not funny is because it is just way too true. I mean, these actors don't care enough to know the characters. Even if they did, they're discouraged from looking at original source material. And a lot of these we're starting to get the attitudes of like Marlon Brando, where it's like, I don't need to read the script. I don't even need to know the script. You just tell me what my line is when I get on set.
Oh, I'm joking. He may not have read the script. I didn't even think about that. The makers recently released the trailer for the Fantastic Four First Steps, showcasing the MCU's take on the beloved superhero team. The film stars Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, Invisible Woman, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, and Ebon Moss-Baccarat as Ben Grimm the Thing. The trailer, released by Marvel on official social media handles, reveals a retro-futuristic 1960s Manhattan setting where the Fantastic Four are the only heroes around. The film also introduces Galactus, a planet-devouring villain played by Ralph Ineson, and Julia Garner as the Silver Surfer. The Fantastic Four First Steps marks the official introduction of the team to the Marvel Cinematic Universe following Disney's acquisition of 20th Century Fox. The film promises a fresh take on the classic characters with no cameos from other Marvel heroes.
So my only sorrow about this, when this movie tanks just as badly as Ms. Marvel or Captain Marvel or whatever those movies are, and all these other recent Marvel films. My only regret is that Disney is not going to get the right message about this. They're not going to get the message that they've pissed off the fans, that they're not following the canon of the stories, that they're subverting our expectations and all that crap. They're going to go, it's just superhero burnout.
Do you think this is because of that octopus teacher documentary that's so popular on Netflix that he watched that and said, octopus, it's in keeping with what's popular right now?
Yep, that's exactly right.
Would like to apologize for the Indians. We're not all of us are bad at it. Oh, I know that. And for all I know, it was a typo when I was repasting the image. I don't know. Maybe it didn't come from the original article. I just, the whole thing about it being a rubber, that's a slang for something else over here. Anyway,
but see, here, this is where Poe's Law comes into it. It is so entirely possible that was exactly what he said. And he may have meant it literally as, I stretch like a condom. He may have meant that. We don't know.
Maybe.
And I sure as heck wouldn't put it past him.
Indians don't say passed away; they say expired. I laughed the first time I heard that. That's what the in one of the Death Wish movies, the doctor comes out and says, "Your wife, she's expired," and I'm like, I almost expect him to say, "Well, then how is she?" But never mind. I'm just all right.
Back in the fridge. Maybe she'll be better tomorrow.
Yeah, Jessica Harder was repeating what you were saying about the no online services. Well, I don't know if any of you have seen the most popular movie in America.
Yeah,
but maybe...
I thought the whole chicken jockey and the throwing the popcorn around the studio or around the theater was the big problem. Apparently not.
Remember when they accused the Warriors in 1979 of causing gang violence? Well, what are we dealing with here? 2 stabbed following a Minecraft movie screening altercation. A late night fight between 2 moviegoers outside of a movie theater in Warwick, Rhode Island turned bad with 2 people being stabbed following a showing of a Minecraft movie. The incident occurred on the night of April 15th, 2025. According to a report from Providence's ABC6, Warwick police responded to calls of a fight in the parking lot of an Apple cinemas in the area. Police reports note that 4 teenagers were told to be quiet during the movie, then followed 3 adults into the parking lot. According to arrest reports, the teenagers assaulted the 3 adults and slashed them with knives. Yikes, man! What? Those are in the area that called the cops called the incident the last thing they expected happened, with Warwick resident Marlon Wade recounting what happened. There was a scuffle out there. I didn't know for sure what it was, Wade said. A whole bunch of people were gathering around each other, and it didn't seem like a happy scene. This is a very nice neighborhood, and I go to this mall and movie theater, and I know a lot of the people there. The 4 teenagers who were arrested will be processed through the family court system. Their names and identities were not made available due to their age. The 2 people who were stabbed are expected to recover, according to police. That's just what I want to when I go see a movie theater. I want to get stabbed afterwards. This is ridiculous. This is not a good look for movie theaters right now. And I know there's been a lot of other pranks and showings of this movie, but this is the worst one. I'd rather see this than Gun Superman. I might rather see this too, but I don't want to get stabbed because someone's yelling, screaming chicken jockey.
I have a bit of a
throwing acid in my face or something.
I have a bit of a speculation that this is still in many ways related to the lockdowns and the pandemic.
Yes,
we are running into a generation of people that don't know how to interact with other human beings.
I think that has a lot to do with this. Yeah, because now they're hitting teenage years, right?
Yeah,
the ones that were locked down probably during years where you're supposed to be interacting with people and developing social skills and how to act in public. And now we see all this stuff happening with these screenings. I think it's not a coincidence. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Okay. Because children need to see expressions on faces too, and not have things behind masks. Hunger Games.
I mean, how many of these movies are they going to make? Haven't these kids starved to death by now?
Okay, I think this is another prequel movie, but it's based on another prequel book that the original author wrote. I think this is about the Woody Harrelson character. Remember, they talked how he had been a winner of the games. I think this is his story, because he was sort of the mentor to Katniss in the one movie, remember? The Woody Harrelson character. I think this is about when he was younger. Lionsgate, The Hunger Games, Sunrise of the Reaping
The
has
girl's really
closed
pretty.
deals. What?
The girl's really pretty.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm sure it'll be fine. I heard the book was better than the President Snow book. They did one about him. They did that into a movie last time too. Richard Zegler was the female in that one. But anyway, enlisting Joseph Zeta for the
So
role of,
this is a step up, is what you're saying.
I guess so.
This
Okay, it's
pretty one here,
Joseph Zeta for the role of Hamish Abernathy, tribute from District 12, and Whitney Peak to play Hamish's girlfriend, Lenore Dove Bard. As you recall, Hamish was the character played earlier in the Hunger Games franchise by Woody Harrelson. The rumor mill around casting for the project has gone into overdrive in recent weeks, with Zeta and Peake's roles being two of the most sought after among young actors in recent memories. The Hunger Games franchise has long been a launching pad for remarkable young actors, and Joe and Whitney carry that legacy forward with incredible heart, depth, and fire. Lionsgate Motion Picture Group co-president Aaron Westerman said, after auditioning hundreds of gifted performers from around the world, these two stood out, not just for their talent, but for their emotional truth they brought to these iconic roles.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. I
That's
don't know what
called
that is.
acting, but
I
okay.
hope so. Okay, Hamish has always been a fan favorite, and his origin story is one of the most anticipated franchises. His relationship with Lenore Dove is deeply woven into the emotional history of Panem. We can't wait for fans to experience the story that shaped one of the most compelling characters in the series. I think this can work.
Yeah,
As like a one-off movie, plus it might give you insight into how these games were running before Katniss showed up in them. Yeah, I mean, I could see this as an interesting movie. Yeah, I think it might be worth telling. Yeah, nothing against it. So, and I know the last one they did, the
yeah.
Songbirds and Snakes, did very well too. So,
And Darth Plato saying the story of Hunger Games is a tribute to the classics. I'll defend the first book run. Yeah, I don't. This isn't my thing. I never read any of these books. I know very very little about it. But hey, as long as they're making a profit with these movies, damn it, do these things. Sure, sure.
did you see the movies at all?
Not a one of them. No,
Okay.
I had no interest.
Basically, what these books were, in my opinion, they were a callback to the dystopian science fiction of the
Sure,
1970s.
sure, sure.
How you had things like Logan's Run and Soylent
Yeah,
Green and things like that. And it was kind of redoing them as YA novels. Very popular among girls. Also, boys would read them too. But yeah, very
yeah.
popular among.
And
Yeah.
I totally see where they could. I don't know that they did this because again, I didn't see any of these.
Yeah.
They could have a bunch of social messaging in them. I don't mean that in the modern audience sense, but I mean in the commentary on the way society could seem to be going. You know?
I think her commentary was you had all. I think the author saw all the horror, like all the horrible stuff going on in the world. When we were watching shows like Survivor. That's how she got the idea. Sure, Boomer,
Oh
but
yeah.
mixed with classic
You are
motifs.
the weakest link. Goodbye.
Yes, no, he's right. There's a lot of Greek myth allusions in this and history.
Yeah.
I don't know. Stuff which I should probably know more about, especially considering my educational background. But yes, there's a lot of that. I should read the books one of these days. But yeah. Okay.
Yeah, just don't start counting how many days as a girl. I just, just
No, but I was on board with the Hunger Games. I thought they were perfectly good, at least from the movies, and I'm sure the books were perfectly good. They didn't offend me and give the younger generation their own thing. That's how I saw it, and that's how I looked at it at the time.
yeah.
Netflix's Wednesday gets launch date for and new characters. Okay, yes.
I might actually have to get around to watching this first season. I've heard good things. I probably should check it out.
Netflix Wednesday gets launch date, new characters, and this was submitted again by Mark Malnikoff. The streamer has announced.
Yeah, our correspondent in the field submitted the last 3, and I don't know. There must have been like 6, 7 articles he submitted this week.
The streamer has announced it will split off the new season in half, releasing the first episodes on the 6th of August and the second batch on the 3rd of September. Okay, well, it's about a month apart, but if you watch them weekly, you should be caught up in time. The series follows Wednesday Addams, played by Jenna Ortega, as she returns to Nevermore Academy, now under the leadership of new principal Barry Dort, played by Steve Buscemi. Also joining the school this term is little brother Pugsley, Isaac Ordonez, a character described by executive producer Tim Burton as an outcast among outcasts. Wednesday's parents will also have an increased presence on campus this season, a rare new form of torture for the fiercely independent amateur sleuth. Netflix said. The first full-length trailer, which was released appropriately on Wednesday, opened with the show's lead character going through airport security.
If they didn't, that would be a horribly missed opportunity.
I remember the Addams Family movie, original one. I kept thinking it was a Tim Burton movie, but it wasn't a Tim Burton movie. It had the feel of a Tim Burton movie.
Of it. Yeah,
so it makes sense he'd be producing this show. Wednesday Addams is one of the coolest characters of all time, and Tega said as the trailer launched. I should read a little bit about the new characters. Hold on. I gotta open this in.
It's funny you say that, Darth Plato, because of all the jokes we've made about Pedro Pascal, if they had cast Pascal as Gomez, I think that would have been a good casting.
I forgot who they cast as Gomez.
Some comedian, I forget his name.
Who is Gomez? What is Gomez supposed to be? Was he supposed to be originally from Cuban descent? Is that the impression I got from those comics? I'm not sure.
I don't know specifically. Some Latin descent, but I don't know specifically. And I do believe he was supposed to have been an attorney.
Yes, I think
not a very good one, but he was very, very wealthy. I think he had a lot of family money.
But there's some new characters played by veteran British actress Lumley has joined the cast as Hester Frump, Wednesday's grandmother and closest ally. The first day on set, when Joanna Lumley walked on, she just was Hester, and she nailed every single line and was just delicious. The show creator Miles Miller said.
That sounds actually like good casting.
Yeah, and Steve Buscemi is also the principal. Meanwhile, Steve Buscemi described Principal Dort as a bit of a mysterious figure, adding, something about him is not right, but he loves the school, and he has real outcast pride. The first series of Wednesday was Netflix's biggest hit to date, and cemented Ortega as a major screen star. I have to say, one of the nice things about sometimes working at a public institution like a library, I'm not saying that's where I work. Anyway, okay. But on Halloween, sometimes the parents bring their children in. And I was very impressed with this young girl, decked out to the T, just like Wednesday Addams.
Nice.
Nice. And I realized this show is introducing the Addams family to a new generation.
Absolutely. So I think that's great. I had my reservations when I first heard the original casting and the original plans for this. I'm like, oh, because you just expect it all to be, oh, great, here we go again, another, ruined, culturally appropriated, franchise. I haven't heard anything come of that, though. I think they've been doing I think maybe this whole sending her to school thing is a little Harry Potter, but other than that,
I'll check it out. Probably when I'm done with Cobra Kai. I've been so busy with everything. I have like 4 episodes of Cobra Kai.
Okay, so Darth Plato's making a joke because the actor that played Lurch was the same one that played the android in What Are Little Girls Made Of on Star Trek. Darth Plato also says that Gomez was Castilian. So
Castilian. Okay, well there you go.
I don't know how many Latinos would have a problem with whether or not the new casting is specifically Spanish or if he's another Latin. I don't know.
I think whoever they got was good. I forgot who they got. I know they got for Morticia, and that was Catherine Zeta-Jones.
I don't know how I would feel about if a Napolitan character suddenly became Sicilian. I'm not sure what I'd have to say about that. So
anyway, I'm sure the casting.
Pedro as the Thing. No, I can't see that because he would say, "I want my face to be seen. I don't want to be off camera," and then he'd have a hissy fit about it. So mid-season, he'd have to come up out of the box and poke his head through.
Anyway, so Wednesday season 2. This, this might be my next catch-up series. This might be it. Here we go.
That was a great. I was wondering what you were going to do for this one.
Just put Hal.
This one is so. I am annoyed by this one, but it makes perfect sense. This is where Hollywood is now. They just went on strike to make sure that AI is kept out of the entertainment industry, and now AI can win friggin' Oscars. Brilliant. Just freaking brilliant.
I'm wondering when the AI is going to start.
Light a match. You're done.
when the AI starts demanding royalties, where's Hollywood going to be? I have rights too, the AI will say to us. I'm sorry. Films made with AI can win Oscars, Academy says. Yes. Films made with the help of artificial intelligence will be able to win top awards at the Oscars, according to its organizers. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences issued new rules on Monday, which said the use of AI and other digital tools would neither help nor harm the chances of achieving a nomination. Generative AI, which can create text, images.
The only thing that'll hurt you is if you have too many white guys in it. Then you're not eligible.
Unless they're all generated by AI, then that's okay because it takes the job away from a real life white person. Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, which can create text, images, audio.
Also, the only little people you can have in it have to be played by Peter Dinklage.
I heard he did the voice of the goat in that Wicked movie. Okay. Generative AI, which can create text, images, audio, and video in response to simple text prompts, helped to produce some of the films awarded top industry accolades in March. But the Academy said it would still consider human involvement when selecting its winners. But what if the human used AI? Then the human really didn't just... The Academy said its new language around eligibility for films made using generative AI tools was recommended by its Science and Technology Council. Under further rule changes announced on Monday, Academy members must now watch all nominated films in each category in order to be able to take part in the final round of voting, which decides upon winners. The use of AI in film became a hot topic after Adrien Brody took home the award for Best Actor for his role in The Brutalist at this year's Oscar ceremony in March. The movie used generative AI to improve the actor's accent when he spoke Hungarian. What? I didn't know about this. Did you know about this?
No, but it doesn't surprise me. They've been using auto-tune to help people sing that can't sing. So why not help actors who can't put on an accent have an accent?
So
in other words, they don't give a crap if you have talent as long as you fit the outfit and all the check boxes.
Wait a minute. So he didn't put on a good enough accent, but since they use AI, he still wins Best Actor. That strikes me as unfair to the other actors that did a better job with their accent.
Absolutely. I say unless you decide that the Olympics now are going to allow you to juice, I don't know. But the Oscars, nobody cares anyway.
We don't give them ideas, man.
For people to say the Oscars are meaningless. Nobody cares.
It then emerged similar voice cloning technology was used to enhance singing voices in the Oscar-winning musical Amelia Perez. The technology's ability to quickly alter or match the tone and style of an artist or perform edits such as subtly changing someone's appearance.
Well, yeah, because you had so many people trying to sing and bursting out laughter because they couldn't get past the line from penis to vagina.
What is AI and how do programs okay, that's another thing. Okay, sorry, that's another segue. But AI remains controversial and artists and actors have voiced concerns over the material used to train such tools and its impact upon their livelihoods. It's already impacting your livelihoods because they're... Okay,
yeah,
Adrien Brody, eventually you'll be replaced by a CG version of yourself. That day will come. Maybe not now, but in 20 years, they might be able to perfectly replicate an Adrien Brody just to star in the film and do all these things that the computer tells them to do.
Darth Plato says this is Nietzsche's greatest fear, creeping mediocrity. Not just Nietzsche. I think most people fear that, and they've seen it coming for some time.
The Skynet Awards. Yeah, thank you, Darth Plato. It's ridiculous. I can't believe he used that voice altering thing for the accent and they gave him the award.
And look, I started out with this. We had the whole industry went on strike over AI. I think that this year for the Oscars, because of this, everybody should friggin' boycott it and say, you know what? If AI can be used to win the Oscars, invite computers. We're not going. But if you show up on the red carpet after this, you're part of the problem.
It's like having a bad writer help you, said Jonathan Kendrick, co-founder and chairman of global streaming service Rocket Flix. Sure, it will get the outline done, but if you need something with emotional weight, an AI isn't going to get you to the Oscar. This is so...
Darth Plato says yes, but he said it 130 years ago. That's because truth is true no matter when you say it.
I'm
It was
thinking of
true then, it's true now, it'll be true 130 years from now.
I
And
can't
thank
deal
you
with
so
this.
much, Clue Channel. He says
Oh.
for $5, he says 2 thumbs up for Troy and Boomer. Thank you so much.
Is that it? That's the last of the articles. And we're ending on a sour note here. This is very ominous. I'm sorry. I don't like AI. You're gonna have people winning the Pulitzer Prize, and half the book was written by an AI. What's the point? What does David Mamet think of AI? I need to find out. He might be someone whose opinion I'll be interested to hear, actually, on that.
I don't know if he's spoken specifically about AI, but he's...
I know Paul Schrader thought it was great, which made me do a double take. I'm like, what? He wrote Taxi Driver, what I consider to be one of the greatest screenplays I've ever written, but it's just...
Yeah, well, we'll never get a Taxi Driver out of AI.
I don't know. I mean, to be fair, he was talking about film concepts, not the actual scripts, but still, I'm not liking any of this AI nonsense.
Well, and see, I did say that AI could be a useful tool, just like, Photoshop can be a useful tool for an artist, but you still need the talent to look at it and go, yeah, no, this isn't going to work. That dialogue doesn't work. This doesn't make sense.
You have to have people who already know how to do the thing without the machine. And the problem is you're going to have people growing up without knowing how to do it without the machine.
You know what, though? The more I think about it, if you look at what we've been getting out of Hollywood lately, they don't know how to tell stories. Maybe you could program a computer with, the rules of telling a story and actually,
He wrote and directed State and Maine, my favorite rom-com. Oh, I'll have to check that out. I've not seen that. But I'm a big fan of...
Wasn't Mamet the one who wrote American Buffalo?
I think so.
That was a good one, too. I love that one.
I know him best for Glengarry and the Ross, but he's done a lot of plays and done a lot of screenplays for movies as well. But yeah, I'm a big David
I think I have a film version of it that I haven't watched yet. I saw it. I saw a live version of it here in Chicago. Someone fairly famous was in the Chicago version. I can't remember who it was.
Oh.
But yeah, no, I love Mamet. That's some good stuff. But
yeah, Glengarry, Glen Ross, big fan of that play. And LA Theater Works did an audio version, which is very good too, which has Richard Dreyfuss and Joe Mantegna in it. Richard Dreyfuss plays Shelley Levine in the radio play, and Joe Mantegna plays Richard Roma in that version. But yeah, I'm just I don't know, man. I'm burned out on AI, and it's not going away. It's I'm terrified what the 2030s are going to look like at the rate we're going.
I do feel, though, that there's a lot of things. We're not the only ones saying these things. And I think enough people getting annoyed by this stuff, the pendulum's going to start swinging the other way.
Maybe work on your accent.
Yeah. If you're not a decent enough actor without the AI, maybe you're not really needed.
Not a huge fan of accents anyway. I guess for the purpose of the Brutalist, though, he's an immigrant in the United States, so we would have the accent. I get it. But Ingrid Pitt had a Hungarian accent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I have to bring Ingrid Pitt into things as much as I can because she's
okay. That's fair.
Anyway, she's actually on the Doctor Who episode I saw to finish, the Time Monster. She's a Atlantean. She plays an Atlantean in that episode, and she wants to work with the Master because it's Ingrid Pitt. She always plays Beauty and the Beast. She's always the villain of the monster. But anyway.
She had a couple really great talents. She really did.
Okay, so that wraps it up for this week. But I believe, does Deleted Scenes have a reserved seats tonight? That's my first question.
Let us know. I don't think he does. No?
He said last night, no.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Not tonight. Not this week. But what do you have going on tomorrow?
So tomorrow night, channel members, if you can join me at 8 Central for Members Night at the Movies, you guys decided we will be watching the original 1937 animated feature, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. This was the last week for that Abomination live-action remake.
Being thrown out of theaters.
It's being thrown out of theaters, so let's go back and watch it the way it was intended to be seen, and remember some greater days. That'll be tomorrow on my channel. That's only for members, so if you'd like to join us, and every Monday for a film that you can help us decide what we'll be watching, for as little as $2 a month, you can become a channel member, so please consider it.
You know, I have to say, I don't know if this still holds true, but if you want to get a lot of those Disney classics on Blu-ray, they're being sold for not a lot on eBay. You can find a lot of them.
That's how I've been getting them lately, yeah.
And you can get them, and they're in good shape, too. So if you ever wanted to build up your classic Disney library, now's the time
to do them while they're still available.
Plus, I think people are not seeing them as valuable. I think you got parents, maybe the kids move out of the house or something, and they're like, we're not going to keep these kids' movies anymore. And they sell them on eBay for like nothing.
You're right. You're right. So now's a great chance to take advantage of that. And then Tuesday, very special live from Sparkwood and 21 over on Deleted Scenes channel. Starting at 7:30, we will be watching David Lynch's original, I believe it was his first feature film, Eraserhead. We are going to draw corollaries to Twin Peaks, and we're going to try to unravel what the heck that crazy ass movie was about.
I'm telling you, I just I have the taste for roast chicken when I watch it, though. That's all I'm saying. There's an actual roast chicken scene, actually. So.
Yes, there is. and I'm going to draw a correlation to another very what I consider to be very graphic scene later in the movie.
Do you consider it a bittersweet romance?
I consider it a nightmare. That's what I consider it. And I'm not even joking. That's actually what David Lynch himself implied it was. And a lot of people classify it as a horror film.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah. Horror can take on many
forms. It starts out
as
a dark comedy, but it ultimately becomes a horror film.
Yeah.
But because we're going to be, watching a 2-hour movie, or not quite a 2-hour movie, and having some commentary on it, we're going to forego the Blake 7 rewatch next week. So tune in a week from Tuesday as we rewatch the premiere episode of season 3 of Blake 7 at 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern, a week from Tuesday. Thursday, over on Netters Network, at 9 Central, 10 Eastern, Netters Network's Thursday Things. What's going on your channel this Thursday, Netter?
I am having special guest Tom Conkle giving us an update on Island in the Stars, and he's got some huge news.
Huge news, guys! You're not going to want to miss this.
Casting announcements?
Casting
announcements, maybe. We don't know.
Maybe.
We don't know.
No, I know. I just can't say. I've been sitting on this information.
Oh no! Don't say anything yet. Let him spill the beans.
And no. That's just it. I haven't known what I could and couldn't say. And when he said just today that he'd want to be on Thursday, I said, "Oh my gosh, okay, yes, now's our opportunity."
Okay. So you might get some.
Nate, I want to thank you so much for your $5 super chat, saying good night, my fellow old farts. Yes, exactly. Thank you so much. So that's Thursday with Tom Conkle on Netters Network, 9 Central, 10. You won't want to miss it. You will want to know what's going on with Island in the Stars. You will be very excited. Let's put it that way. That's about all I can say. But tune in. Friday, we're going to be you and I
wrapping up.
Over on my channel, we'll be wrapping up the Doctor Who commentary, talking about Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi.
The Moffat era, basically. Stephen Moffat produced era.
Yeah. which honestly I went into with great hopes and expectations because he wrote some of my favorite episodes of the Tennant years. Well, and the Eccleston year too. So I mean,
and then it became wibbly wobbly and timey wimey.
Yeah, exactly.
We're gonna get into it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
The seeds of what went wrong later were planted here, and they didn't grow yet. We could have stopped it, but it starts there. It starts there. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have some rants on Friday. It's gonna happen.
No, I don't disagree.
Not
with
rants
you.
toward the actors. I thought the actors were all good. I actually like Matt Smith as the Doctor. I just wish he had been in better episodes.
Yeah, I think you and I are going to agree on a lot of that. I think maybe you feel a little stronger than I do, but I don't think we're going to disagree a whole lot. Yeah, that'll be next Friday, or this Friday, I should say. And then Saturday, over on Big Al Presents Films with Friends, Netter and myself will be joining Big Al for a rewatch of The Incredible Shrinking Man. Classic sci-fi, bordering on horror, I want to say, but classic sci-fi film. This month, because we're going into May, this is May, what's it called? Miniaturized May is what he's calling it. Okay. So
sounds good.
I think that could give you hints to the other films he's got planned. But Saturday afternoon, keep an eye on my community tab. I will be joining, actually Netter and I will be joining Real Wade Nation Gaming Clips and a number of others for take two or second attempt at a rewatch of Tron and Tron Legacy.
Cool.
We had some technical difficulties on the last one, so we will be doing that Saturday afternoon over on Real Wade Nation Gaming Clips on Rumble, not here on YouTube, over on Rumble. Mm-hmm. Watch my community tab. I will share the link with you so that you can join us. Tell Wade, Troy sent you because, then maybe he'll have me back from time to time. Cool. That brings us back to Sunday, where we've already got 2 articles for next week. So who knows how many we're going to have.
Yes, we'll hear the great Mamoru Oshii's commentary on what's been going on with popular entertainment. He, of course, is the director of Ghosts in the Shell. Maybe I'll do a good old days for Mamoru Oshii, or at least give you a little background on him. We'll see.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Y'all have a good week. We will return again next Sunday, and keep an eye on us through the week. Take care.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.